When we last saw the Yankees, they were stunned by an early October exit and were forced to walk away from the defense of their championship. But winter has a way of blurring the past, and the arrival of spring allows for a sunny outlook. The Yankees are feeling good again, and why not? Chuck Knoblauch brings his talent and intensity to the top of the lineup, and the Bombers have put a little chili in the mix as well, allowing the stopper to start smiling. The boss is a little giddy about the talent he's assembled, handing over an awesome lineup to his skipper, who will have to turn his attention to his arms, especially David Cone, whose health may be the biggest obstacle facing the '98 Yanks as they look to get back into the winner's circle. Network presents New York Yankees baseball from Legends Field in Tampa, Florida on a partly cloudy day. It's the Detroit Tigers and the New York Yankees doing battle in a spring training game here from Tampa, Florida. Welcome to our coverage here on MSG Network. Jim Cott along with Ken Singleton. Happy to be with you again for another year of Yankee baseball, and it promises to be an exciting one. I guess today we get a look at one of the question marks in the Yankee roster, and that's starting pitching, and we'll start with Hideki Irabu.
Hideki Irabu is going to get the start for the Yankees this afternoon. He's projected as the number 4 starter for the Yankees, but there is a question mark. With Hideki pitched very well against these very same Detroit Tigers. Struck out 9 in just over 6 innings and looked like he was going to be the real deal. Of course, we know that didn't quite work out the way that the Yankees or Hideki wanted it, but it looks as though he might be pointed in the right direction. Remember, he did strike out 56 men in 53 innings last year.
Too many hits per inning, and of course the ERA well over 7. One of the things Joe Torre's smiling about this spring, in fact the entire Yankee roster, is the addition of Chuck Knoblauch.
You get one of the top run producers in baseball right at the top of the order for the Yankees. He scored well over 100 runs last year and has averaged that for over 5 years in the big leagues. Knoblauch can hit the long ball out of the top spot in the lineup. This is against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, and Knoblauch went deep to right field. Here he is just the other day against the Phillies in Clearwater, a base hit. You'll see him on base about 40% of the time for the Yankees this season.
And this is what Chuck Knoblauch has to offer at the top of the lineup. He'll be a solid leadoff hitter for the Yankees with that career average over 300. He's a 4-time All-Star, Twins all-time leader in steals, and a former Rookie of the Year. One thing in spring training you're always concerned about is some nagging injuries, and the Yankees have their share.
I guess you got to start with David Cone. He's a big question mark as far as his health is concerned, and some other pitchers have been banged up for the Yankees as well. So I think the only question is the Yankee pitching coming out of spring training. David Wells will pitch tomorrow. Ramiro Mendoza will pitch in a B game tomorrow. Mike Stanton's been bothered by a bad back since the beginning of spring training. Darren Holmes, acquired from the Rockies, has a bad calf, but he's pitching again. Graham Lloyd, his hip has been bothering him, and Mike Jarzembek has been bothered by a bruised elbow.
So the Yankees hope they get healthy, but one of the additions we are yet to see, of course, the signing of Orlando Hernandez, El Duque, and Michael Kay will have a chance to inform us on that. When we come back, Michael Kay is going to update us on maybe some new Yankees that would have a crack at getting into the lineup this season. Well, an integral part of our Madison Square Garden coverage again this year is Michael Kay, and Michael's down on the field. So far this year, it appears to have been a rather calm spring here in Tampa.
I'll tell you what, Jim, you're right. It's been camp tranquility. They've gone about it in a very businesslike way. There doesn't seem to be many distractions, and the one possible distraction was the Bernie Williams signing, and they got that guy out of the way, and now it looks like this is a team that's ready to go.
The Yankees head into 1998 with the bitter memory of last October's loss to Cleveland still fresh in their minds. Only 4 outs away from ousting the Indians, they remember Sandy Alamore's swing, a swing that swatted them out of the postseason. A much different memory from a year earlier when Joe Girardi's dash around the Yankee Stadium infield meant a dramatic series victory over Atlanta and the Bronx Bombers' first championship in 18 years.
Yankees are the '96 World Champions!
Last spring, the hottest battle was at the hot corner, where Wade Boggs and Charlie Hayes competed for the starting job and eventually split time during the season. This spring, the third base picture should be a little clearer. Scott Brocious was acquired from Oakland with the hope that he can overcome a disastrous 1997 and revert back to his 304-96 campaign while fighting off rookie challenger Mike Lowell.
Everybody's obviously going to question third base just because of the year that I struggled through last year, but you know, I know who I am as a player, and I know that I'm much closer to the player I was in 96 than I was in 97, and I think most people would be satisfied with, you know, another year like 96.
Last spring, left field was another job up for grabs. Darryl Strawberry was in the race, along with other veterans Mark Whitten and Tim Raines. This spring, well, Darryl's back for another crack at left, along with a much healthier range. Their chief competition will come from Chad Curtis with an outside shot by rookie Ricky Leday. As for Curtis, he was acquired last June and took over as the starting left fielder. He blossomed, hitting .291 with 12 homers and half a season in pinstripes.
I don't look at it like they owe me that job. I look at it that they owe me a shot at that job, which I believe they're giving me. Now it's up to me to win that job.
Big Daddy Cecil Fielder was a big distraction last spring. An unhappy camper due to a contract dispute, his performance suffered, and he incurred the wrath of the Bronx faithful. This spring, a potential distraction was avoided when Bernie Williams and the Yankees avoided arbitration and cut a one-year deal.
We just want to take it a step at a time and play now. You know, that's my main concern right now. Get ready and play. We have a great team. I don't want to be a distraction. In my situation, I don't want this situation to be a distraction for the, in spite of the kind of team that we have this year to play.
Now on to this year's new faces. First and foremost is second baseman Chuck Knobloch. The former Twin was brought to the Bronx to hit leadoff, and he carries with him a .391 career on-base percentage.
I'm just lucky to be a part of it. You know, I'm just happy to just contribute just a little bit, and you know, things should work out well.
Knobloch makes a big difference on this club. The one area that I felt that we were lacking was team speed. Even though we had some speed with Jeter and we had some speed with Raines and Bernie, we still weren't accomplished base stealers. Now we've got a legitimate base stealer who will only make the other guys a little more aggressive, I believe.
17-year veteran Chili Davis signed a free agent deal to become the Yankees' new DH. Coming off a 30-home run year with the Royals, Chili brings even more experience to an already formidable lineup.
I've played long enough. I've been concerned with numbers. I've been concerned with trying to get more years in, and I've gotten over all that. And I think now my main concern is to win.
I'll tell you what, it's very hard not to be optimistic. You really have to temper your enthusiasm if you're a Yankee fan. They have so much talent. The lineup is so outstanding. 1-7 is really lethal if Strawberry is healthy. And really the big question mark with this team, the only thing that could knock it down is pitching. If the pitching does not come back from the injuries that they have and Arabu does not pitch well, they might have a little bit of a trouble. But I'll tell you what, even if the pitching isn't good, they might outslug people. That's how good this team is.
Michael, thanks for that informative report. And when you talk about pitching, it seems like every spring there's at least one or maybe two names that pop up that might be surprises. And the name I hear this year is Mike Buddy.
Mike Buddy's done a great job. He pitched in tandem with Jerzembeck, and they really like his stuff. He's got a good fastball. He spots it, and he really opened Joe Torre's eyes the first time he pitched. Then when he came in when Jerzembeck was hurt, got hit on the elbow by the Posada throw, he also did very, very well then. Obviously, he's not going to make this team, but he opened enough eyes that if there is an opening on this staff and somebody gets hurt, it might be Buddy who gets called up from Columbus.
Michael, how about the most recent signing by the Yankees, El Duque, Orlando Hernandez? What did the Yankees see in him? He hasn't pitched since '95.
And they're a little bit concerned about that. Some people want to look at it and say, well, listen, he's going to be fresh. Well, he's also going to be a little bit stale. So I think that what they get with El Duque is they get insurance. He's going to go down to Columbus. He might not even pitch in 1998, but he'll be ready. He's a guy who's pitched in international competition, really done good things out on the mound. If he has anything left, he could really help the Yankees as a fourth or fifth starter. It was a good investment for the Yankees. They only look at him as a fourth or fifth, not like they did with Arabu, who was a #1 or #2. And at 1.5, 1.6, that's not a bad signing. Pretty cheap insurance.
All right, Michael, well, we've heard that great sound of the ball hitting the bat, and we're going to be ready for our first telecast here on MSG when we come back with starting lineups right after this. We've Heard a little of everything to get in the mood for the baseball season. In that feature, the ball hitting the bat, man, that's a great sound. And then Stephanie Roberts just treated us to the rendition of our national anthem, and Hideki Irabu gets ready to start. You see his spring numbers, and Kenny, I don't know about you, but I think these days people take spring training a little too seriously. Owners and players and managers, and until you get about the 20th of March, who cares what the numbers look like? It's just to hope you get healthy by that time and ready to play.
Yeah, everybody wants to see the team get off to a good start, but spring training games don't mean anything, because after a while you'll find out that some of the teams that have the worst records get off to the best starts in April when the season really means something. Hideki Irabu today be facing this lineup for the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, it's the same lineup when he made his debut last year against the Detroit Tigers. They're a little different look this year. We'll see Kamara Barti at the top of the lineup today. Brian Hunter will be there when the season starts. And Billy Ripken, Bip Roberts, a new acquisition. He's the DH. Luis Gonzalez, boyhood chum of Tino Martinez, hits cleanup, plays left field. Frank Catalanato batting fifth. Joe Renda. Then Raul Casanova, the catcher. Trey Beeman, acquired from San Diego in a trade, and Richard Almanzar, a young second baseman. Of course, Damian Easley would be there when the season starts.
Well, defensively for the Yankees, we have highlighted all of the newcomers to the Yankee lineup, and Chuck Knobloch at second base. We talked about his offense. How about his defense? His first Gold Glove last year. Scott Brosius can play a solid third base, can also play just about anywhere else on the field. There's a look at Brosius coming over from the Oakland A's in the Kenny Rogers trade, and look for him to have a much better year than he had last year. There's Knobloch at second base, and we mentioned the fact that he is a solid fielder as well as a good offensive player, one of the best offensive players in the league.
I asked Derek Jeter, I said, what's it like adjusting? Now, you had Andy Fox and Mariano Duncan and Luis Sol. You've had a lot of second basemen. He said, you know the biggest thing? He's short. He's only 5'9". So he said, my throws on the double play, you know, where they were chest high to Duncan, they're going to be about Captain Bill high to Knobloch. So that's really the only adjustment Derek Jeter will have to make. Derek not in the starting lineup today, as you see Joe Torre and his coaching staff, Jose Cardinal on his right, and Don Zimmer. And there's Buddy Bell, who led these Tigers last year to the biggest improvement in baseball. They improved by 26 wins. First pitch called a strike by our home plate umpire Gary Cederstrom, and that's been the biggest concern this spring, as you see Barti's numbers, is the control of Irabu. Inside, a ball and a strike. Joe Girardi, who's caught him a couple times, says, and everybody says the stuff is there. He's shown a good fastball, good forkball, but not consistency and not consistent control. Pulled foul. Barti spent all of last year becoming a switch hitter. He's hitting from the left side, which is not his strong side.
He's having a pretty good spring. Barti hitting at .636, 7 for 11. Those are pretty good numbers to take the Las Vegas or Atlantic City.
Tigers concerned about their bench. Brian Hunter would be the regular center fielder, but Barti would give them some speed off the bench. High 2-2, and of course the little bit of a change in the alignment this year in both leagues, and fans tuning into baseball for the first time. The National League is going to have 16 teams, with the Milwaukee Brewers now playing in the National League, and these Detroit Tigers, who for so many years were in the American League East, are now part of the American League Central Division. The count is full.
I think the Tigers will be more competitive in the Central. They have to worry about the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Orioles or even the Blue Jays. You mentioned Buddy Bell and the improvement he brought to the ball club. I think this year you might see it's a different type of team the Tigers have. They're going more for the contact type hitters. Last year they struck out an awful lot, and strikeouts stop rallies.
Just missed. And he stares down at home plate umpire Gary Cederstrom.
Let's take a look at the last pitch. The target is right down the middle, as it should be on a 3-2 pitch to the leadoff hitter. You see the fastball tail away, missed the outside corner. One thing the Yankees are working on with Irabu is getting a two-seam fastball, one that moves away from the left-handed hitters. Last year, lefties hit well over 300 against him, and he gave up all those home runs in 53 innings. 15 homers in 53 innings.
This is veteran Billy Ripken, the Tigers shortstop. And he takes high for a ball. This is what Hideki Irabu had to say. A few things he'd like to do differently. He's got a few memories of last year he'd like to get rid of, and he wants to get along with his teammates and do better. He is a volatile personality. He exploded earlier this week, his last start against home plate umpire John Shulock. He was not happy with some of the calls. And missing again, and working off the first base side of the rubber. That's an adjustment that Irabu has made since last year. And of course, they're always working with him on his pickoff move, because with that high leg kick, he's rather easy to steal on. See, last year I think he was more in the middle of the rubber, or maybe even over on the third base side.
In the early going here, he's having trouble locating his fastball.
That's in for a strike. And again, we put all the numbers up and we tell you how guys are doing in spring training, but these first few outings from a pitcher's standpoint, and you could relate to what they are as a hitter, I really don't care about the results. It's the arm strength, it's the building up, breaking down of the arm, and then by mid-March on, you hope that the results get a little bit better. There's the quick pickoff move, and they almost got Barti.
I think that was better than any move that Hideki had last year. So there's something that the Yankee fans might watch for. Picked off Jeter in an inter-squad game, and that's something in itself, picking off Derek, who's a very good base runner and base stealer.
Pretty quick footwork for a big man. Almost got Barti. Counts 2-1 to Ripken. Barti is off, and the pitch is fouled straight back. And the count is 2-2. Billy Ripken will get an opportunity to play shortstop for the Tigers the first month of the season, perhaps, because their fine rookie shortstop of last year, Davy Cruz, broke his ankle, I believe, playing winter ball. He's going to miss about a month.
He's coming along slowly, not quite as quickly as the Tigers might like. And Ripken, who's bounced around somewhat, of course, has been with Baltimore, playing with his older brother Cal, last year with Texas. And Billy Ripken himself has been quite brittle over the years. Last year he was on the DL a couple of times with a bad back.
Again, Barti is off, and the pitch is low and in. Nice throw by Posada, but Barti had a great jump off of Irabu, and he steals that easily.
Well, the Tigers led the American League in stolen bases last year, the first Tiger team to do that since 1934. Tiger Stadium is more of a home run park, but Buddy Bell was forced to have his men on the run last year, and that was part of the reason why they won 26 more games. He says he doesn't want to do that quite as much this year. But when you have the speed like Barti, or certainly Brian Hunter, who led the league in stolen bases, you got to let those guys go.
Again, Irabu having trouble finding the strike zone, walks Billy Ripken. So back-to-back walks to start the game. The Tigers will have a different look. We think of them as the sluggers who strike out a lot, hit a lot of home runs. They are going to be more of a contact team and speed team. And Buddy Bell says, looking ahead to the new stadium that they're building in Detroit, it's going to be like $3.99 to left center. It's going to be a park that will favor pitching and speed and defense. And so general manager Randy Smith is trying to put his team together according to that. Here's one of their acquisitions in the offseason, Bip Roberts. He's DHing today. 35-year-old switch hitter.
You're talking about speed. Bip can pick him up and lay him down.
And the breaking ball's in for a strike.
Well, 96. Look at the earned run average. I think the biggest difference there, and the reason why the Tigers won so many more games, 4.56 in 97 as opposed to 6.38 earned run average in 96, which was I think a major league record for the worst ever.
They were fourth in the league in pitching last year. That's on the edge, and it's 0-2, and that's the first time in a decade that the Tigers have even been in the top 10. So it's that same old boring reference we make in baseball. I don't care what kind of a lineup you put together, eventually your pitching will determine where you'll finish. Of course, the Yankees concerned about theirs this year. Barti and Ripken are your base runners. And that's grounded foul outside of first. The Tigers left two of their regulars, stars, back in Lakeland today, and that would be Brian Hunter, who will play center field and lead off, and of course their first base sensation Tony Clark will be their cleanup hitter.
And one thing you mentioned, Randy Smith, the general manager for the Tigers, and one thing he has done with some of the younger players on the Detroit Ball Club, he's locked them up into long-term deals, including Tony Clark. But he's trying to do the same thing with Brian Hunter. Justin Thompson, their great young pitcher, he backed out of a long-term deal. He just took a one-year deal, but he didn't like the terms of it.
Robert stays alive.
I think it was based, the contract itself was based on the number of starts he would make during the course of a season and how much money he would make. So he didn't particularly go for that and decided to sign a one-year deal. A 15-game winner last year for Detroit.
Well, and that's admirable from Thompson's standpoint, as he's willing to say, hey, I'm going to go out there and be healthy and have a good year, and of course the price will go up. Robert stays alive. And speaking of contract signings, we will get a chance to visit with Brian Cashman, the new general manager of the Yankees. Brian will come along about the 5th inning, and we'd like to spend a little time getting you acquainted with Brian Cashman as a person, who he is and his background as a young general manager, and then also some of the transactions that have taken place recently. The renewal of the contracts of Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera. Bartia on the move. Ripken, one of them missed a sign, but the pitch is fouled off, so Bartia returned to second base. The count's still 0-2.
Once again, the high leg kick of Arabu coming into play, and I think Bartia just taking off and going for third. Maybe there wasn't a sign, and Ripken just was left waiting for the train.
So Arabu laboring here in the first inning, as he has all spring. You know, when the reports came out of Yankee camp the first few days, it was like, wow, Arabu has lost some weight. He's really in great shape. Well, that's a myth. He's not lost any weight. Doesn't mean he can't be a good pitcher at that weight. These Tigers had a pretty portly left-hander named Mickey Lolich that did well for a while. Pitch is high, throw to second is not in time. Tigers pick up stolen bases number 2 and 3 here as Bartia and Ripken advance. Still nobody out, and runners at second and third.
Jorge Posada took a chance trying to get Ripken at second base. Bartia probably getting too much of a jump, and Posada going for the trail runner. He makes a good strong throw, doesn't quite get Ripken, who hustles into second base with a head first slide. Posada threw out 20% of the men that tried to steal against him last year, but I think that is somewhat deceptive because he didn't catch on a regular basis and didn't have a chance to get his footwork or his timing down on an everyday basis.
Yeah, much more difficult coming off the bench late innings and trying to throw out a base runner, and he figures to get more playing time this year with Joe Girardi. Back toward the mound, and they've got Bartia in the rundown, and Posada runs in back to Scott Brosius. He's retired. Ripken advances, and Roberts reaches first on the fielder's choice, so the Yankees trade a base runner for an out, and runners at the corners with one down.
Bartia going on contact, and this play will go 1-2-5, and it was very well executed by the Yankees. Arabu coming home. See, the throws are as short as possible. Posada running Bartia back towards Brosius, who comes into the picture, awaiting the ball with the glove up, showing a good target for Posada to throw the ball back to him. Here's Bartia scampering back towards third. The throw goes to Brosius, and there's the tag for the out.
Coaches get a lot of satisfaction out of that play because early mornings, those are the kinds of plays that teams work on hour after hour. And as you pointed out, a minimum number of throws. Perry Hill, the third base coach for the Tigers. Here's Luis Gonzalez, a Tampa native. And that pitch in the outside edge for a strike. In fact, when the Tigers and the Yankees get together in the spring, and it happens quite often, you'll see him talking with Tino Martinez. They were Little League teammates here in Tampa. Both went to Tampa Jefferson.
So runners at first and third. Gonzalez, a lifelong National Leaguer until this year, had been with Houston, Chicago, and then back with Houston again. And he's the type of guy, a good contact hitter, maybe 15 home runs a year as tops, but hits the ball to all fields and tough to strike out.
Good swing there, fouled straight back. His average is very deceptive. When you look at his 268 lifetime average, he always strikes me as a guy that's going to be around 300. And I guess because, as you pointed out, he does make contact. Spent his entire career with Houston and the Cubs. Signed with the Tigers as a free agent in the offseason.
Oh, it's a ball.
Token throw over to first base. That was a Posada's going to remind him that was very close to a balk. Arabu not really stepping toward first.
And let's watch the movement on the pickoff. You're almost in slow motion.
Yeah.
The move over the first base.
I think that was one of the things that hurt him last year. He appeared to be more concerned, and maybe it's the pressure that the Yankees put on him to hold runners on and worry about his move, that he worried more about runners than hitters. Good pitch there. Good split finger, and we mentioned Gonzalez's ability to make contact. Arabu strikes him out for the second out of the inning, and still runners at the corners.
Well, the Tigers got off to a good start, but all of a sudden it looks like Arabu is rallying here in the top of the first innings. It blows it right by Gonzalez. The new Tigers, Bip Roberts, Luis Gonzalez, Joe Randa, all of them don't strike out very much. Look at the players that left.
Wow.
Melvin Yavis, 157 strikeouts. Travis Fryman, well, there was some production there as well, and Bob Hamlin with 72.
Popped up on the first pitch by Frank Catalanato, the Tiger first baseman. Brocious is there, and Arabu, after walking the first two hitters of the ball game, works out of the jam. So the Tigers go scoreless in the top of the first. The Yankees coming to bat when we come back on MSG. No score. We head to the bottom of the first. It's the 96th spring training for the New York Yankees, the third here in Tampa, Florida. And the lineup will look at Scott Sanders. Boy, he had a good year a couple years ago with the Padres.
Yes, he did. He was primarily responsible for their surge in the second half of the '96 season when they won the division. Sanders has an excellent fastball, excellent slider, but he's a two-pitch pitcher, and sometimes that won't get it as a starter. Primarily, he started out of the bullpen, then went into the rotation with San Diego. Had a poor year last year with Seattle and with Detroit.
And here's the lineup that Joe Torre has posted. Chuck Knobloch at the top. Dale Swain bats second. Then Paul O'Neill, Chili Davis, and Tino Martinez. Darryl Strawberry bats sixth. The bottom third, Scott Brocious. Your first look at him as a Yankee. Then Jorge Posada and Scott Pose.
Defensively for the Tigers, the newcomers are Gonzalez in left, Joe Randa at third, Billy Ripken at short. And Joe Randa, the former Pittsburgh Pirate, is pretty solid defensively at third base.
So our first look in a Yankee uniform, as you see Randa's view peeking in at Chuck Knobloch. And the fastball low and in. When Joe Torre said in the feature that Michael Kay did that he gives him a legitimate base stealer. Chuck Knobloch stole more bases as an individual than all the top Yankees put together. That's in for a strike.
Well, he has never stolen less than 25 bases in a year.
Two and one. A higher percentage. You see 86% of the time, and there's the top four Yankee base stealers.
63%.
Yeah. When there's going to be another dimension, and you're looking at it right now, it's a little bit of what Wade Boggs did. Is Knobloch is going to take a lot of pitches. He's going to take a lot of time. He goes through his routine every pitch. Would I love to be the hitter hitting behind Chuck Knobloch in the Yankee lineup? And you say why as Dale Swain comes up, because the pitcher gets frustrated. Knobloch works you over and takes close pitches, and then that next guy gets up there and he oftentimes gets a nice fat pitch to hit.
He either centers it, or particularly the guy second or third in the order. Now, Knobloch's already on with a walk. We talk about 40%. I'm a big on-base percentage guy. You know me. I love guys who can work their way on, make something happen, and Knobloch is one of the best. He and Kenny Lofton, I think, the two best in the American League.
Dale Swain, a free agent signing in the offseason. His first appearance here on our MSG telecast. He's 34 years old, a switch hitter, and if you remember back in 1987, that year of the home run, he actually hit 25 home runs and knocked in 95 for the Milwaukee Brewers. Since then, he's had an awful lot of injuries. That's outside. And he figures to give Joe Torre a switch hitter off the bench, as well as a guy who can play just about every infield position. Played with the Pirates last year.
He was a veteran presence on that young Pirate team last year. Made some noise in the National League Central.
Ball and a strike to Swaim. Swaim spelled S-V-U-E-M, and that is Norwegian. His dad actually comes from a family of 17 brothers and sisters raised up in North Dakota and Minnesota. His dad was. Dale makes his home out in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Dale grew up a Yankee fan, so he is very happy to be putting on the pinstripes.
We may see Derek Jeter before the day is over, but Dale starting today's game at shortstop. You mentioned on base, and I know that's something that you worked on a lot, because when you came over to the American League, you became for the first time a leadoff hitter. And so you can appreciate what it takes to be patient and take a lot of pitches at the top of the lineup.
And when Knobloch steals his 4th base this year, it'll be one more than I had that year.
but you did have a good on base. You drew a lot of walks.
Yeah, that's what Earl Weaver wanted. He wanted a player to get on base in front of the big hitters. Here's a look at Knobloch over at first base, taking his lead, and he's off and running. You see his feet kind of shuffle, trying to get that running start. He's off and running, and the pitch hadn't been fouled off. Might bet he might have made it at second.
Back in time. Footwork is so important to middle infielders when they're in the field, but what Knobloch is doing right now is working on his footwork as a base stealer. You get that rhythm when you take a lead. You get a little rhythm, a couple of strides and a couple toe taps, inch off the bag as far as you can towards second. Could be 2. Play from Richard Almanzar to Billy Ripken over to Frank Catalanato. And the Tigers turn a quick double play here. 2 down to the Yankee first.
Well, let's check out the pitch first. It's supposed to be low and away, and that looks where it is. Did that appear to be a split finger? I didn't think that Sanders threw one, but picks up the double play on Swaim.
Well, you mentioned he was a 2-pitch pitcher, and that's, I'm sure, what pitching coach Rick Adair is trying to develop to make Sanders an effective starter. Is that 3rd pitch. Here's Paul O'Neill. Pitch low for a ball. Nothing changes much with Paul. See his spring training numbers, and of course we reflect back on remembering what a great postseason he had against the Indians when the Yankees took that early exit. But when you talk hitting with Paul O'Neill, he's never satisfied, which is why he's a great hitter. Center field. Camara Barti is there, puts it away. Yankees retired in order, so we played one here at Legends Field. No score between the Tigers and the Yankees. We move to the top of the 2nd inning here. Our first telecast on MSG. No score as Hideki Irabu takes the mound for the 2nd inning. He figures to be the Yankees' number 4 starter. I think the Yankees are quite encouraged about David Cohn's progress and his ability to start the season. We're going to have games for you again in 2 weeks, Saturday, March 21st and Sunday, March 22nd here on MSG. The Royals on Saturday, Rangers on Sunday. As that pitch misses for a ball, both day games. Joe Randa actually started his career with the Kansas City Royals and went to the Pirates, and now will take over at 3rd base for the Tigers. Pitch high. Pretty big shoes to fill as Travis Fryman was traded away to Arizona and subsequently ended up in Cleveland. It's going to be a big gap to fill for Randa.
Randa's certainly a different type hitter. Hit 300 for Pittsburgh last year, but not much power, only 7 home runs.
Fouled out of play, 2-1. Buddy Bell's team improved by 26 games last year. But they're going to take on a little different look this year. They lost their top starter, Willie Blair. He signed with the Diamondbacks, so they've added Frank Castillo, who was with the Cubs. Of course, you've already seen Luis Gonzalez, veteran Joe Oliver, a backup catcher. and then Randa and Bip Roberts. Inside, the count goes to 3-1. Irabu continues to struggle with his control.
Is it a matter of mechanics at this point in spring training, trying to find your release point and all that sort of thing, Kitty?
I think it's mechanics, and I think a lot of it is motivation. I don't know what you went through as a hitter from a concentration standpoint. That pitch fouled out of play, but it's not the same when you're out there and you know there's not not a lot on the line. It's not that you want to get beat up and hit on purpose, but there's not that same concentration, and I think you are thinking a little bit about mechanics and working on different pitches. That's why I think the first few times out, you just don't judge a pitcher. You don't grade him on the final results. Fouled back again.
Well, as we can see this afternoon, it seems that the velocity is there. There's no doubt that a lot of the Tigers have been late swinging the bat. Randa here fouled one straight back, also fouled one off to the right. So the power is there in Hideki's arm. Just harnessing that power is a different story, though. There's a lot of movement. That high leg kick, and then the bending of the leg, then the straightening out again. There's a lot of movement there in his delivery.
That's close, but see, I think right now what Hideki Irabu is going to have to do, and Mel Stottlemyre had a session with him earlier this week. He is going to have to learn to cooperate with the umpires and not glare in at them. He's just not going to get any close calls with this kind of action.
Well, that looked like strike 3, but
Sure.
He did not get the call. And I think, that happens to all young players. And I think a lot of the rookies get tested. The young base stealers, sometimes they get called out on close plays. And if they don't argue with the umpires, then all of a sudden those calls start going their way.
I always liked the days before the DH, liked the game better without the DH anyway. But then when you pitched and you came up to bat, you got a chance to talk to the home plate umpire. You got a chance to tell him, man, you're having a great game today. You have to sweet talk those umpires. You're just not going to get any close calls, and that's something Irabu is going to have to change.
Well, he can't really communicate with those guys.
But with his body language.
Yeah.
That's fouled out of play down the left field line. The hitter is Raul Casanova. He should get an opportunity to be the starting catcher. Another one of the former Padres that general manager Randy Smith acquired, but he has not developed quite as quickly as they hoped. That's why they have the veteran Joe Oliver as a backup.
Oliver had some good years over in the National League with the Cincinnati Reds. He was the #1 catcher over there for a number of years.
Outside. Now, your body language as a pitcher the umpire knows what you're trying to say, and the best thing you can do in Irabu's case, it's spring training for Gary Cederstrom too. I mean, this isn't the 7th game of the World Series. He's just trying to get a look at the pitches, find his strike zones. It's spring training for everyone. Hopper, Knobloch, nice flip to Swaim, and the toss to Tino Martinez in plenty of time. So both teams have turned a slick double play here in the early going. 2 down in the Tigers' second.
Well, Knobloch made the choice after this ball was hit. It's hit towards him. The runner's coming his way, but the runner backs off. So he ran to back off, so Knobloch goes the short way to second, and Swaim completes the double play. Knobloch at second, instantly realizing that he might lose the double play by going after Randa, so he goes to second. Nice little flip there. It's like he's done that before, and he turns the double play.
I'm sure as the season goes on and we get a chance to visit with Chuck, we'll find out about the influence of Wayne Terwilliger, the Twig, who was a longtime coach with the Minnesota Twins. And when Chuck Knobloch was signed out of Texas A&M, he was a shortstop. But of course, Greg Gagne was playing for the Minnesota Twins, and so Wayne Terwilliger spent a lot of time helping Chuck develop into a second baseman. That pitch again high, and it's 2-0. Your point earlier, Kenny, about pitchers in spring training, you can almost see Irabu going through the thought process. He's trying to get those mechanics. He'll take a little peek down at the mound, then the hesitation. Fouled out of play. Mel Stottlemyre worked diligently with him the end of last year, and he made a lot of improvement the last month. Remember how hard he threw in September, and he had a good split finger. And Mel tried to get him to stay back on that right side a little longer and take advantage of that 240 pounds that he's got to drive toward the hitter. Like that. And again, you'll notice most of the hitters have been late on the fastball.
Now here's a good look at it. Here's the windup. Bring the glove back over the head. And you mentioned the 240 pounds coming forward at the hitter. Just staying back and then all of a sudden regrouping it, boom, right at the hitter.
Yeah, everything starts from right there. Yeah. The first part of the windup is just for rhythm. Nothing starts till you turn your hip pocket to that hitter. Towards shortstop. That was Trey Beeman, the Tiger right fielder, and he's thrown out by Swain. So again, a leadoff walk, but Hirabu escapes any damage. We head to the bottom of the second here at Legends Field. Still no score. Beautiful afternoon in Tampa, Florida. Talking about some thunderstorms later in the day, but another what appears to be a sellout crowd here at Legends Field. What a great move this has been for the Yankees coming up from Fort Lauderdale. Their third spring, and the first spring in a Yankee uniform for Charles Theodore Chili Davis, native of Jamaica. You ask him about that nickname, you get a couple different stories. Doesn't like to talk a lot about it. Some say he threw chili on everything he ate when he was a kid, and others say when he got a haircut and came home, that head looked like a little chili bowl. That's so he got the nickname Chili. Career high last year at 30 home runs, and first pitch swinging gets a base hit. First hit of the ball game.
We talk about Knobloch in the at the top of the order. Chili Davis in the middle of the order should help the Yankees quite a bit. Last year, a career high 30 home runs. But here's a guy who's hit 328 major league home runs as a switch hitter. That's third all time, trailing Eddie Murray and Mickey Mantle. But Chili Davis certainly will do some damage in the middle of the Yankees line. But at least 80 RBIs in the last 5 seasons.
Gives the Yankees another switch hitter. Dale Swain batting second today. Hits from both sides of the plate. And here's a guy that last year as a new Yankee, of course, everybody talked about the contract he signed 2 years ago, and you know, there was a lot of attention on Tino Martinez, and I saw him today in his locker. I said, well, things are kind of quiet around here. He kind of likes it that way. He said, I'm not in quite the groove that I was last spring when he was just locked in from day one, but he said coming along right on schedule. For a guy who finished second, Davis back in time in the most valuable player voting to Ken Griffey Jr., he gets very little attention here in Yankee camp with some of the other stories going on. Look at those numbers.
44 homers, 141 RBIs, career high. Most homers by a Yankee since Lou Gehrig in 1936. Of course, Scott Sanders on the mound was pitching for Seattle in the second game of the season when Tino went deep 3 times.
Davis on the run. 38-year-old Chili Davis running the pillows here in spring training. Gets a stolen base.
Well, Chili was not being held on at first, and I think this might be a message that's extended to the Tigers and maybe the rest of the league. You better hold me on and keep that hole open for Tino Martinez if he's going to be batting behind Chili. Well, there's the steal of second base. Chili Davis did steal 6 bases last year.
And at this stage of his career, more apt to be successful when he does try, because nobody's looking for him to steal. When he came up with the Giants, that's one of the first things when you talked about Chili Davis. Hey, he can run. Pay attention to him when he's on the bases. 2-1 to Tino, and that misses 3-1.
We were talking to Buddy Bell before the ball game about his pitcher today, Scott Sanders, and he said he's been very inconsistent. And one of the things that he has a trouble with is his delivery. Seems to drop down, and he's not really trying to do it. You know, we've seen David Cone drop down, make up a pitch for a strikeout, but Sanders does that, and he's not really trying to do it.
Hit hard, but foul over on field number 2. That's a diamond right beyond those right field stands where the Yankees usually take their batting practice prior to the game. I think those are the kinds of things a pitcher would work on in spring training, is that they would call it the release point in the arm angle. It is searching to find that right slot. that you get that arm in and can throw consistent strikes.
You mentioned the managers Buddy Bell and Joe Torre, and that kind of throws the theory out that great ball players cannot be good managers. They're both all-stars. Buddy Bell 5 times and Joe Torre 9 times.
And when you're around them both, you can understand why they can be good managers, is because they know how to handle people. Of course, Buddy from a great baseball family, and Joe's brother Frank in attendance today watching the game, also a former big leaguer with the Boston Braves and Milwaukee Braves. And Buddy Bell, one of 2 baseball families to go 3 generations, the Boones, with Ray Boone, then Bob, and now Bob's sons Brett, Aaron, and Matt. And Buddy Bell also has 3 sons playing professional baseball. Ripped center field. Marti will cut it off on a couple of hops. Davis being waved home, and he'll score easily with the first run of the ball game when the Yankees lead at 1-0.
Chili Davis scores the run. Maybe Tino Martinez not taking Scott Sanders deep, but he still drives in a run with a solid base hit in the center field. Let's check out the location of the pitch. It's up, out over the plate, and driven hard in the center field for a base hit. Chili Davis with the lead, recognizes right away that this ball is a base hit. You see, didn't even look at it, just took off once the ball was hit and scored the first run of the game. Good recognition by Chili Davis while running the bases.
And Darryl Strawberry rips this one fair down the right field line. First pitch hitting. Martinez to third. Strawberry will trot into second base with a double. Second and third, nobody out here in the Yankees second. A good at bat by Strawberry in his bid to make Joe Torre's roster as the left fielder.
Well, you mentioned earlier, Jim, that you felt that Darryl was swinging the bat well. He said he felt well coming into the spring training physically, and he had a great extension on the swing. That's the type of swing that Darryl Strawberry produced all those numbers with earlier in his career as he drives one into the corner for a 2-base hit.
Spent a lot of time in the off season. I mean, when he is, whatever term you want to use, he is cut, buffed, built up like he's chiseled out of stone, and there's not much doubt about his bat speed. The big question mark is going to be his ability to play left field. Here's Scott Brosius. Takes a breaking ball in for a strike. If you heard the feature prior to our telecast, the open part of it, Tino at third and Darryl at second, and Scott saying, I think if I just had the kind of year I had in '96, people would be satisfied. He hit .304, 22 home runs, and knocked in 71. But last year, a different story.
You know, I think if he does have those numbers in '96, that last number, 71, will increase because of all the opportunities in front of him. He has a better hitting team here with the Yankees than he did with the Oakland A's. So I think if Brosius can approach 300 with the 20-something home runs, you'll see the RBIs maybe climb into the 80s, maybe even the high 80s.
That's the quote that attributed to Scott Brosius explaining his year. To his credit, it wasn't, well, my back hurt or I had shoulder problems. I think what Scott suffered from, and we've seen a lot of players have it happen to them. Big year in '96, signed a big contract. Now all of a sudden they want to do more. They feel a little more responsibility, a little more pressure on a young team like Oakland, and I think he just tried a little too hard. Art Howe, his manager there, said the same thing. That's a defensive swing, fouled out of play, and it's 1-2. As strong a throwing arm for an infielder as you want, and he also, even though third base is his natural position, you see the Tiger alignment straight away against Brosius. He can play center field in a pinch. He could play all of the infield positions. Very versatile.
We saw him in the outfield last year with the A's.
Pulled foul, still a ball and 2 strikes. He's 31 years old, and he's from McMinnville, Oregon. Came up in the Oakland A's organization, and most of you know by now, traded for Kenny Rogers. And on the hands, fair. Third baseman Randa with a toss across the diamond to Catalanato. That'll retire Brocious. Both runners had to hold. And that's the first out in the second inning for the Yankees.
Sanders strands the runners in position at second and third, picks up his first out. Sanders last year when he was with the Mariners got off 0-4 with an earned run average of 8.88. And Lou Piniella is not the most patient guy with pitchers to begin with. So if you're sporting an ERA close to 9, his days were never. Yeah, he was gone. Got traded to the Tigers. Here's Joe Randa, the Joker, at third.
Jorge Posada. And for a strike, it was really fun to watch Posada's confidence grow last year once he got that first home run and got a couple of hits, got a chance to play, gain a little confidence of the pitching staff. He really provides a great backup catcher and a potential starting catcher for the Yankees. 1-1.
Some of the trade talks during the offseason, a lot of teams mentioned Posada's name. They want to give him the opportunity to play every day, and he feels that he should get a chance to play here with the Yankees.
And you see what he says. He's going to be 27. When you talk about young players, it's not necessarily in terms of age. That's sliced out left field line. Gonzalez is over to make the grab. Tino Martinez will tag and score the second run on the sacrifice fly, and it's 2-0 Yankees.
Spring training, they talk a lot about situational hitting. When you get into the cage, sometimes the coaches will yell out, move the runner over, runner at second, runner at third, one out, got to get him in. It's exactly the situation that Posada's in. Has to get the runner in from third. Breaking ball out over the plate, slices it out the left field deep enough to Gonzalez to score Martinez from third base. Good situational hitting by Jorge Posada.
And the pesky Scott Pose steps in. Non-rostered player. Of course, spent time with the Yankees last year and contributed. Hit well center field. Barty is right there to make the grab. So the Yankees score 2 on 3 hits by Chili Davis, Tino Martinez, and Darryl Strawberry. We've played 2 and the Yankees lead it 2-0. Back at Tampa, 2-0 Yankees. We head to the top of the third. Jim Cott along with Ken Singleton. Michael Kay joins us. Boy, it's good to be back in Tampa at baseball starting. You start getting excited about the Final Four, and you know that's baseball season. All that Super Bowl and that hoopla is behind us. We get down to the real game. A sellout crowd as Arabu's thrown 37 pitches in the first 2 innings, 24 of them strikes, and his control again has been a bit of a problem, but he's been able to work out of it. And we talked between innings. I don't think there's any doubt that Arabu is going to get a chance to be the number 4 starter, if you want to put that number on him. The Yankees are going to find out, can this guy pitch and win in the big leagues, or is he going to be a bust? And there's no need to tinker with him out of the bullpen or send him to Columbus. Sure, that's what the Yankees will try to do. Young Richard Almanzar, 22-year-old second baseman, played at Jacksonville last year. Takes strike 1. He's a native of the Dominican Republic. And of course, the Tigers have a very fine second baseman in Damian Easley, not in the lineup today.
He's another one of those young players that Randy Smith, the general manager, is signed to a long-term deal.
Line inside, 1-1. John Hart did that with the Indians a couple years ago, and it paid off.
I think the Tigers are pointed towards their new ballpark. Not very far from the current ballpark, Tiger Stadium, and bringing all these young bring this young club together, and maybe bring a championship-type club along with a new stadium to Detroit.
Well, you mentioned being in the Central Division, they can be more competitive, but realistically, it's going to be the Indians on top, and then everybody else fighting for second place, barring a miracle. But you know, the more improvement that Buddy Bell's team can make, the more you motivate ownership to spend money and add player here and there. Almanzar leads off the Tiger third with a sharp single. That's their first hit of the ball game.
Those young players who probably will be sent to the minor leagues in a couple of weeks, what they're trying to do is make an impression on the management, whether it's the general manager or the manager and the coaches. And you know, if something happens during the course of the season, one of the veterans goes down with an injury, think of me first.
especially right now because it's close to cut down time. The Yankees have already had one cut, primarily pitchers. Here's Barty, and you can see the uncertainty with Irabu with men on base. You know, the signs are sent in from the bench as to whether it's a step off, throw to first, pitch out, which I wish they'd eliminate in this game, but I know they never will.
The game would change if it were up to you.
You'd think pitchers could think for themselves. They had to do it for years, but now suddenly the running game is controlled from the bench, and you can see the uncertainty sometimes in Irabu. Where am I supposed to go? Throw it home, throw to first. There's Mel Stottlemyre sending in those signs. Bunted. Be a tough play for Brosius, but he makes it and gets him by a step. That's a fine play by Scott Brosius because Barty could fly. Almanzar advances, and there's one down in the Tiger third.
Good play by the Yankee third baseman. This will go as a sacrifice, moving the runner to second base, but it looked as though it good enough to be a bunt base hit until Brosius makes an excellent off-balance throw and gets the speedy Barty by a good step, maybe a step and a half at first base. Good delivery, right on the money to Tino Martinez at first.
And last year at third base, another look at the off-balance but accurate throw. Last year at third, of course, the platoon between Hayes and Wade Boggs. Wade now with the local team here, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. But Charlie provided good defense. Wade with good hands, but not as much range. But Brosius gives you a good combination of both. He's got a strong arm, and he's got good range and good hands. Billy Ripken up for his second at bat. Hit well out into right center field. Pose on the run, appears to have it measured, makes the play. Almanzar will tag and advance to third. That's the second out of the inning here for the Tigers.
Billy Ripken mentioned trying to make this club, and he's been a veteran of several seasons in the major. He knows what has to be done. He's been injury prone throughout his career. The direct opposite of his brother, who once again played 162 games last year.
Cal got the good skeleton.
Cal's a little bigger than Billy. Yeah, bigger and stronger.
Here's Bip Roberts, teammate of Chili Davis's last year in Kansas City, and picked up by the Tigers in the offseason. Fouled outside of first. Probably would be Irabu's last inning. He's getting up toward 50 pitches. This is what George Steinbrenner had to say about him. Has to have a good year. He's going to get a full spring and a chance to do it the right way. We rushed him, and that was my fault. So underscore those last two words. George says he's taking the blame for that. That's high, and a snap throw to third, not in time. He has been in unusually good humor here at the ballpark. Was at Legends Field this morning and has been cited here just about every day, joking around with fans and writers, and unusually good mood, which you can't blame him for the team he's put together. But the record better be good in April. That mood can change in a hurry. Knobloch is there to cut this off on a couple of hops, and the second baseman tosses out Bip Roberts. Irabu pitches a scoreless third. He's given up 3 walks and a hit through 3 innings, and the Yankees lead the Tigers 2-0. Back after this on MSG. But I mean, who's the well, tonight at midnight on MSG you can catch Fox Sports News on MSG tonight at midnight. Meanwhile, Scott Sanders takes the mound in the bottom of the third inning, and the Yankee lineup turns over. Chuck Knobloch in his second at bat. Sad side of the year for Chuck is, of course, his dad was here to visit last week, suffering from Alzheimer's disease. His dad Ray, who had a big influence on him, and his late uncle Ed passed away during Chuck's rookie season. Played some minor league baseball, had a lot of influence on Chuck's interest in the game. That pitch in for a strike, and credit to Terry Ryan, the Twins general manager, who was the scouting director at the time. In 1989, took one look at Chuck Knobloch, came back to the Twins office and said, "I've just seen our #1 draft choice." And everybody said, why? Here's a guy 5'9", about 165 pounds, played shortstop, didn't have a lot of power. His teammate Scott Livingstone was a higher draft pick, but they just liked the way he played the game. That's hit well, but to right at Gonzalez, and there's one down. And the Twins selected him their #1 pick, 25th overall. So 24 teams didn't see what Terry Ryan did.
Well, Terry Ryan saw the Rookie of the Year in the American League. That's what he saw, and that's what happened in 1991.
And the economics of baseball, unfortunately, have seen where the Twins, a couple of former Twins, Chili Davis and Chuck Knobloch, had to trade him and his hefty contract away for young prospects. Couldn't afford to keep him. Here's Dale Swaim for his second at bat. High for a ball. Now, let me ask you about switch hitting. Dale Swaim's a switch hitter. He was a natural right-hand hitter, then made the switch, but right now he feels he's a better left-hand hitter, and Chili Davis says the same thing. That's inside. Now, you were a natural righty.
Yeah.
And then you
switched over to left-hand.
Now, is it because you get more at-bats against right-hand pitchers?
I think you start to feel more comfortable on the left-handed side, and that's exactly what happened to me, too.
That's low. Bernie Williams, for example, we think of him as a more dominant right-hand hitter, but last year his average was actually a few points higher for the first time in his career as a left-hand hitter. I think seeing more right-hand pitching.
You really have to work on your right-handed side because you face so many more right-handed pitchers.
Hit well down in the corner. This ball is gone. Dale Swaim with a line drive home run to give the Yankees a 3-0 lead. And Joe Torre says, yep, that's what we got him for.
You can see why he feels more comfortable left-handed. He runs this one right out of the ballpark. Dale Swaim with a home run. Always like to check the location of the pitch. Supposed to be down and away. Actually, it's up and out over the plate. So you find out right away, Yankee fans, that Dale Swaim likes to hit the ball up. And this was a solid line drive. Good extension on the swing and right on out of the ballpark.
First pitch to O'Neill, and for a strike. Chances are when the Yankee scouts looked at Swaim last year in a Pittsburgh uniform, they saw his ability to pull the ball, which is a big asset in Yankee Stadium. There's the 34-year-old veteran. And 2 quick strikes to O'Neill. Ball flied out to center field in his first at bat. If you could tag that old cliche pride of the Yankees on a player, Paul O'Neill, I think, has become that. I mean, he is so comfortable now in New York and in a Yankee uniform and doesn't care to talk about contract or how long he's going to play. He just loves being a part of the Yankee ball club and playing in that city. And last year, I don't think anybody performed any better than this guy did in that division series when the Yankees took an early exit. Let's look back at it. The last out, but O'Neill wouldn't let it happen.
And this was a rope to right center. Just missed being a home run off the wall, and he slides into second with the 2-base hit. Good hustle as well.
That would have been the tying run, but it was not to be. He reaches for that one and taps it out to first base. Catalanato will make the play, and that's the second out of the inning here in the third. Chili Davis singled and scored in his first at bat and made the same statement. Kenny, when he came up as a switch hitter with the Giants, it was throw him breaking balls as a right-hand hitter, but don't throw him any breaking balls left-handed. He was a good breaking ball hitter, and he now feels more comfortable from the left side of the plate also. He taps that weakly to first. That's an inning-ending out here in the third. We've played 3 at Legends Field, and behind Hideki Arabo, the Yankees lead this one 3-0.
Back at Legends Field with the Yankees. There's Derek Jeter sitting on the sidelines this afternoon, but he sees his teammates up 3-0 over the Detroit Tigers behind the pitching of Hideki Arabu, and it's pretty good hitting by the middle of the lineup for the Yankees this afternoon. Beautiful day for baseball.
Perfect.
Oh, just beautiful. And, you know, living up north during the winter, you see the grass is still a little brown, but you come down here to Florida, it's green like it should be.
You remember those days when you came down to spring training? There was no prettier sight than the green grass of a baseball diamond after you've been up north all winter.
Hideki Irabu's going to stretch it out. He's going to the 4th inning here and facing Luis Gonzalez, who swings at the first pitch, lifts it into left field. A chance for Darryl Strawberry. Drifts as the wind is blowing out to left. Darryl puts it away for out number 1 here in the 4th. And that'll bring up the first baseman, Frank Catalinato.
Irabu's improved a little bit each inning, Kenny. We mentioned 37 pitches after 2 now. Last inning he only threw 10 pitches. So his total's 47. That's a little more in line. He's throwing more strikes too.
Well, maybe that's the decision by Joe Torre and Mel Stoudemire. Let him go one more inning. There's the Yankees pitching coach, Mel Stoudemire, a watchful eye as Hideki will deliver. And a breaking ball misses for a ball. Catalinato played in the the Arizona Fall League. Injured his shoulder and was a second baseman. Now he's at first base. Fouls it off, and the count leaving up at a ball and a strike.
Yeah, the Tigers will put a pretty good everyday lineup on the field, but their bench is going to be a little weak. And here's a guy that can swing the bat. He hasn't shown real good fielding skills, but Buddy Bell hoping he can make the team as a switch hitter off the bench.
There's a line drive, a soft liner to Knobloch at second, and that's out number 2. You know, one thing the Tigers did last year, we mentioned their improvement by 26 wins. They did that with a $16 million payroll, and that in this day and age,
it's 2 players.
That's a lot. That's a lot of bang for the buck.
Or a player and a half.
Exactly.
You compare that to Brian Cashman, who will join us in the 5th inning. The new Yankee general manager was holding court with reporters before the game today.
Irabu trying to get out of this inning quickly, deals a strike to Joe Randa.
And with the signing now of El Duque, Orlando Hernandez, I mean, the Yankees have invested about $100 million in their roster.
Pitch is hit hard, just over the outstretched glove of Dale Swaim into left field for a base hit. Strawberry will get it back in and hold Randa to a single. And that is only the second hit off of Irabu this afternoon.
Wilson Heredia, young right-hander, the Yankees acquired from the Texas Rangers, loosening up and will apparently pitch the 5th inning.
Catcher Raul Casanova will step in to face Irabu. 2 outs and a man at first. Yankees are leading 3-0. We're in the top of the 4th inning. And one thing we've seen from Irabu the last couple of innings, that first pitch is now getting in there for a strike. Certainly this has to be his best outing of the spring, although he started off a little shaky with the back-to-back walks in the 1st inning. The Tigers stole 3 bases in that inning, but were unable to score. And that misses outside.
Even during the regular season, the pitchers, and there are a lot of great pitchers that have had trouble early on, Bob Gibson being one of them. That 1st inning is always a matter of getting a little feel for the mound, and the good ones seem to pick it up a little bit quicker, and they work their way through the 1st inning and then get better.
Runners off and going, and the pitch is hit in the air to fairly deep center field. Going back is Pose to the warning track and makes the catch up against the wall in center field. So that saved at least 1 run, and Joe Torre has seen Hideki Irabu pitch shutout ball through 4 innings against the Detroit Tigers. We'll be back with the bottom of the 4th in just a moment. Scott Sanders, he'll head into the bottom of the 4th. He remembers Tino Martinez from last year. We mentioned April 2nd in Seattle. Sanders on the mound for the Mariners. Tino treated him very rudely.
Once. And these are all 3 off Scott Sanders. That was the 2nd day of the season, and that kind of kick-started Tino to that great year. All 3 home runs off Scott Sanders when he was in a Seattle uniform.
And in the 2nd inning today, Tino with a single and an RBI drove home Chili Davis with the first run of the ball game for the Yankees. Ball's hit hard down the first base line. It's a fair ball. Bounds off the wall and picked up by the right fielder Trey Beeman, and will hold Tino to a single. So Tino continues to hit the ball well off of Scott Sanders. There are certain hitters that pitchers know that they have to mess up just a little bit. The guy's going to hit the ball hard.
And we're seeing an example. Granted, it's only spring training, but we're seeing an example of how difficult it is for Scott Sanders to get left-hand hitters out. You mentioned at the top he was a two-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider with that arm angle. That ball looks so much bigger, and it's so much easier to pick up by the left-hand hitters. And Swaim, Davis, Tino, Strawberry have all hit him well.
Strawberry doubled on the first pitch he saw in the second inning. Takes a breaking ball inside for ball one. The Yankees put 3 hits together in the second. Davis, Martinez, and Strawberry to pick up a couple of runs. Then in the third inning, Dale Swaim homered for their 3rd run, and they're threatening again here in the 4th against Scott Sanders. Strawberry swings a high fly ball deep to right, but fouls. Just a little too quick. They're having some good swings.
It's the kind of pitcher you like to face in spring training when you're trying to make an impression, like Darryl Strawberry. Is a guy that's not real deceptive.
Everything about the same speed. Count is 1-1 on Darryl. Now there's a changeup. He tried to trick him and he missed, and the count is 2-1.
Bryce Flory with the Milwaukee Brewers last year. He'll get some action in the middle part of this ball game.
Outfield a few steps towards right for Strawberry. Swings at this one, fouls it back out of play, and the count will level off at 2-2. Look at the way the wind is blowing, and it's blowing from right to left. Center fielder Barti is playing fairly shallow. He's playing shallow center field.
That's another reason it's difficult to judge players in spring training. You'll hit a routine fly ball to left field, and with those flags, it's a home run.
There you see Barti just about straight away. Off-speed pitch over the outside corner for call strike 3. Strawberry caught looking. First strikeout of the afternoon for Scott Sanders as he gets Strawberry.
And that's that 3rd pitch that Sanders is looking for, and he hasn't been able to come up with it. That was a good one there, right on the outside corner to Strawberry.
Scott Brosius, the Yankee 3rd baseman, will come up. He bounced out to Joe Randa at 3rd in the 2nd inning. Martinez at 1st with 1 out. And Tino will draw a throw.
Again, next inning we'll have 30-year-old general manager Brian Cashman join us. Be fun to talk to Brian, find out a little about his background, and also some of the most recent signing of Orlando Hernandez, El Duque.
Check swing, fouled over the Yankee dugout. And that's a strike on Brosius.
Yankees have made a couple of changes, not on their roster, but behind the scenes. Nick Priori, the longtime equipment manager, is no longer here. Rob Cucuzza has taken over there. We've got a new strength coach, Jeff Mangold, who was with the Yankees back in the mid-'80s.
Sanders with a long set, delivers, and pitches hit hard and by the second baseman into right field for a base hit. So Brosius with his first hit of the day, the 6th hit for the Yankees off of Scott Sanders. And there's 2 on and 1 out.
Yeah, that's the smile that the Yankee fans hope they see a lot of, because that's the way Scott Brosius swung the bat in 1996 when he hit .304. He went the other way with some authority. I mean, that ball was just a few feet out of the way of Almanzar, but it was hit so sharply. Took the outside pitch and hit it sharply the other way. That was textbook hitting right there.
Jorge Posada picked up an RBI in the 2nd inning with a sacrifice fly. Swings here and fouls it. This will make the seats down the left field line. You look at those spring training averages. Of course, they haven't had too many at bats at this point. Posada hitting at .417. He's 5 for 12.
He's got to make some outs. You don't want to be that hot in spring training. Of course, Tino was last year.
The 0-1 pitch Swung on, hit to the right side, backhanded by Catalano at first. The throw back to first as Sanders covering is not in time. They do force Brosius at second base. So they're now 2 down and Yankee runners on the corners. So Posada is safe on the fielder's choice. It's a very tough double play to complete.
Especially when you're not accustomed to playing first base. Catalano has been a middle infielder. He's playing first base only because of his shoulder problem. Buddy Bell coming out. I guess they've got Sanders on a particular pitch limit, and he's reached his limit.
And Sanders will be coming out of the ball game, and Bryce Flory, the right-hander we saw warming up, should be next for the Tigers to hit the mound. Well, Sanders is out of there, and he leaves having allowed 3 runs thus far on 6 hits. 2 runners on base are his responsibility. We'll be back with Bryce Flory trying to pick up the final out of this inning in a moment. 3-0. Yankees leading it. And coming up tonight, folks, it's a 7 o'clock face-off as the Islanders battle the Avalanche on Fox Sports New York. Tomorrow afternoon, the Nets collide with the Hornets at 12:30 on Fox Sports New York. Monday, the Battle of the Hudson continues when the Rangers take on the Devils, 7:30 on MSG. Tuesday, the Devils clash with Eric Lindros' Flyers on Fox Sports New York at 7:30. And on MSG, the Knicks are at the Garden for a matchup with the Orlando Magic. All coming your way this week on MSG and Fox Sports New York. Check your local listings. First and third with 2 outs. And the pitch to Scott Pose is bounced to the right side. Almanzar to the first baseman. And that'll do it for the Yankees here in the bottom of the 4th inning. They leave a couple of runners, pick up a couple of hits, but can't get through on the scoreboard against Detroit. 3-0. The Yankees lead it. We're headed to the 5th inning. Well, with the Yankees leading 3-0, we go to the top of the 5th inning. The Tigers have only had 2 hits in the ball game. Hideki Irabu is out of there. The Yankees have replaced him with a right-hander, Wilson Heredia, who last year pitched in the Texas Rangers organization, Oklahoma City, and also for the Rangers briefly. And you can see his spring training numbers: 2 innings, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, no walks. So Wilson Heredia is the first man out of the bullpen for the Yankees this afternoon. Irabu went 4 innings, no runs, 2 hits, 1 strikeout, and 3 walks. So Hideki Irabu, a pretty good outing. I would say he's pointed in the right direction as opposed to his last start.
Got better every inning.
Here's Trey Beeman, the right fielder, grounded to shortstop against Irabu in the 2nd inning. So we'll check out young Mr. Heredia on the mound. His first pitch, and Beeman trying to use that speed. Beeman started out in the National League. He was with the Pirates organization, also with the San Diego Padres. And you can figure that Randy Smith, general manager of the Tigers, remembered him from the Padres organization and brings him over to Detroit.
Yeah, there's a definite San Diego flavor to this Tiger roster because of Randy Smith. He remembers these guys probably when they first signed.
Ball is popped into short left field. Strawberry coming on. He puts it away, and Trey Beeman is the first out of the 5th inning. And we are now joined by the Yankee general manager, Brian Cashman. Brian, welcome.
Thank you.
The young wonder kid. This reminds me of Andy MacPhail, the young general manager who took over the Twins and helped put a championship team together. And I know you aspire to do the same thing. Sure got a good start on it.
I sure hope so. I know one thing. My last name kind of fits right now, the Cash Man.
Yeah, very good.
Certainly spending George's money.
Richard Almanzar, the second baseman, takes the pitch up.
You know, Brian, you reminded me, in having seen you in the office days, you know, just about every day for the last couple of years, never realized you were the son of John Cashman, who I happen to know quite well, and your background in really in the horse business.
Absolutely. I grew up on a horse farm in Kentucky, and my father's relationship in the horse business through George got me my foot in the door, you know, a good 10 years ago. And I started off as an intern and worked my way up, and I guess I'm an example to everybody that as long as you work hard, you can make things happen. People take notice.
You like to play baseball too?
Absolutely. I played in college, and it wasn't really until my junior year I realized I wasn't going to be good enough to take that next level. And but I was a pretty good college player, and I was happy for the 4 years I was able to play at that level, but I just couldn't take the next step.
Ball one to Camara Barti. There's 2 outs, nobody on for the Tigers. Was that your goal to move up through the system and eventually become a general manager?
I mean, I always thought about it, and it certainly was something that would excite me, and we'd talk about things like that in the office, and certainly I don't think there's anybody in the baseball, actually in any major league team, whether you're in concessions or anything, that doesn't think about that, to be quite honest.
Ball and a strike on Barti. There's 2 outs quickly here in the 5th inning. Wilson Heredia has come on for Hideki Irabu. Pitches inside. What did you think of Irabu's performance today?
Yeah, I was pleased. We're going to after the game today, we're going to have a meeting, and I only saw him his last inning. I've been on the phones talking to the other GMs. That's part of my job, and trying to see what's available out there, and who has interest in some of our guys. So I missed his first 2, so I'll get the report. Maybe you guys can tell me a little bit more about it.
He got better as the game went. He walked the first 2 guys, but pitched, and Kenny pointed out as we got deeper into the game, more first pitch strikes, and he blended in the split finger. He struck out Luis Gonzalez, which is not easy to do. He's a pretty good contact hitter, so I thought every inning got better.
Yeah, he's gotten better through the spring. His arm strength is getting better, and that's exciting us. And Mel Stottlemyre is doing the job.
Well, Brian, you will stay with us, I hope, through the bottom half of the inning. Heredia gets a 1-2-3 inning. The Yankees continue to lead 3-0. Happy young man, probably a Yankee fan here at Legends Field. The Yankees leading 3-0, bottom of the 5th inning. And we are joined by Yankee General Manager Brian Cashman, who certainly has to be happy as well. The Yankees playing a very solid type ball game. They get some good hitting from the middle of the lineup, and Irabu was very effective. Now Wilson Heredia in the game, and now we go to the bottom of the 5th. And I guess the trade that you made right away with Chuck Knobloch really make an impression on this ball club.
Yeah, I think Chuck is going to be. It's a perfect fit for us. He gives us the leadoff hitter that we, anybody can use, especially his quality. It solidifies us at second base with an exceptional defensive player, and he's just a run machine. And he's going to fit perfect in this. We have a very efficient offense, and I think it's just another guy to add that's going to take us to the next level.
Knobloch walked in the 1st inning and lined out to left field in the 3rd, so he's 0 for 1 this afternoon.
I heard you, Brian, in your daily press conference with the media today, and do you almost have to feel guilty and feel bad for some of the other general managers. They don't quite have the latitude that you do to pick up players who put a team together.
That's true. I'm on my honeymoon right now, so
enjoy it.
I'm being allowed to do some things, and and I appreciate that. And certainly, I guarantee every GM out there would love to work for a guy like George, who's going to give you the opportunity to take a chance. But we'll be held accountable for our decisions, and this isn't any freebie. I mean, we made we went in and made a lot of research, and a lot of these decisions we've made over the last month since I've taken over, and now I'll hold my breath and make sure that hopefully will work out. We think they will.
You mentioned you were on the phone with some of the other general managers around baseball. Anything in the offing that?
No, not yet. What I'm doing more is making sure every day that I touch base, and there isn't more than a few days that go by that I haven't spoken to every GM in the game. One thing I never want to have happen is a trade to be made.
Line drive by Knobloch to right field. The right fielder Beeman couldn't hold on to it, and Knobloch speeds into second with a 2-base hit. Well, there's something happening at the top of the order for the Yankees, and it's something Joe Torre hopes he sees a lot this year. Knobloch on base has already been on twice, and Beeman might have been shaken up trying to make that catch in right field.
Yeah, it looked like a catchable ball, but one thing in spring training, you don't have the big double-deck stands, and oftentimes it's a little difficult to pick up the ball. And there you see Beeman take quite a blow on the right shoulder.
This is the one thing in spring training, it's a victory every day if you can stay healthy.
Yeah. Boy, he's shaking his head. There's Knobloch. He sees Beeman drop the ball and then turn on the jets. Now, during the regular season, I think we'd see Chuck running a little more full out from step one, but he felt that Beeman might catch that ball, being attended to now by the Tiger trainer. While he is, Brian, I'd like to ask you from a personal standpoint, we'd like to hear about your assistant general manager, and also what really motivated you to become a general manager. You started as an intern, but what sort of sparked you, or who influenced you to say, hey, I think that'd be fun, I'd like to do that?
Well, I think the individual had the most impact on me in terms of my development was Gene Michael. I worked closely with him for a number of years, and he took me under his shoulder and gave me under his wings and gave me so many chances to get into the real baseball nuts and bolts side of it. And then after he moved out and Bob moved in, Bob gave me a lot of responsibilities. So those two had a severe impact on my development, and I appreciate it very much.
Tell us about your new assistant.
Kim Ang. Kim's going to be great. I honestly believe that she'll do a better job for me than I was able to do with Bob, because I just think she's that good of an administrator. She's got experience in the waivers and the rules. She did it for the 14 GMs at the American League office the last year. And prior to that, she worked under one of the best administrators in the game, Danny Evans, in the White Sox. He's the assistant in Ron Schuler's office over there in Chicago. And, she had success in arbitration cases, presenting a case against Alex Fernandez and winning, and being heavily involved in their arbitration process and the salary market for players. And that's what we need. That's what I need, and that's why I got her. I'm happy she said yes.
Well, we saw Trey Beeman leave the ball game, and he was rubbing his right collarbone, it appeared, and Pedro Swan is now out in right field. So Swan is in right for the Tigers. Knobloch's at second, and Swaim is at the plate. He's hit into a double play and had much more success in the third when he hit a solo home run in the right field.
And it appears you got most of the contract situations out of the way, so they're not going to be a distraction. It's and I've heard you say this, it's not a fair system when Jose Mercedes can go 3-7 or 4-7 with an ERA of 4 and get a raise to $1 million, and yet you have to renew Jeter and Rivera for much less than that. It's not that the Yankees are being cheap. That's the system and the way you have to play it, I understand.
Absolutely. I mean, we would all love to have this thing based on a pay for performance, but the system's in place and we're working within the system, and the players understand that. I had a face-to-face meeting with all of them, and our numbers are fair given what we've done in the past, and given the system, and they recognize that, but they also recognize that they've done a lot for us, and they would like to have gotten more, but their time will come, just like Andy Pettit's situation developed this year. He was at 700 as a 2+ last year, and he went to 3.7 as a 3+ this year, and there's no animosity in Andy's mind towards the Yankees. He's very happy with the way the process has worked out, and if they keep performing on the field, they're going to make a lot of money.
We just saw Derek Jeter sitting out this afternoon for the Yankees. Possibility of long-term deals. You see other teams do that with their younger players if they can work it out.
Well, we're going to pursue all avenues to try to do what's right for the organization, and if we can get to a comfortable arrangement between his representatives and us, and something I can take to George to say, you know what, this looks like something I would recommend to you, and we'll collectively make a decision. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but we'll die trying.
I would imagine what some of the smart representatives will do, those that represent Jeter and Rivera, is they're going to call you and say, hey, how can you give El Duque, Orlando Hernandez, that kind of money and you won't pay our guy? That's something I'm sure you have to stand up to.
That might be, but if they want El Duque's contract, I'll offer it and sign them today to it. So.
For right now. But then they'll want more in another year.
You're right. So if they want to take that, I'll put that offer out there right now. If they want it, we can get the deal done. I don't think that deal will do it.
O'Neill with a ground to the short, backhanded by Billy Ripken, and a throw to first is in timeout number 2, and Knobloch moves over to third.
So when I look at, I remember Andy MacPhail, and you remind me a lot of Andy. I mean, Andy, I always thought he was going to be a candidate for commissioner. Young, sharp, paid attention. He said he would never sign a player to a multi-million-dollar long-term contract unless he was a Hall of Fame type like a Kirby Puckett. But I think he extended himself. He went to Sammy Sosa, who I don't see in that light, and then you have Gary Sheffield. Let's get to Bernie Williams. When he starts talking about his numbers, I mean, he's got to rank with those kind of players, and I'm sure those are things you have to go around with.
Absolutely. I'm very happy that we're out of that arena now, and now Bernie will have to deal with as a free agent and not in the arbitration process.
We'll talk about that more when we get back to the top of the 6th inning. As we head to the 6th, the Yankees lead it 3-0. Top of the 6th inning, Yankee pitchers have thrown a 2-hit shutout thus far. The Detroit Tigers and lead it 3-0. They're starting those Yankee fans younger and younger.
That's the kind of players right there Brian will be dealing with in about 2 minutes. At your age, you'll be doing that for a long time.
That's right. I hope so.
So where does Bernie Williams fit into the scheme of things when you look at Sosa and Sheffield and Albert Bell and these kind of contracts?
Well, those contracts are, right now, again, we were talking about the arbitration process. We don't have to deal with it on Bernie on that level now. We'll have to deal with it on a competition level. He's asked for me to not negotiate, and I told him that I'll honor that. George might want me to make an offer, and he understands if that's the case, he'll have to listen to it. But he's asked for me at least not to pursue it at this time. He wants to play the season out, and we'll just wait and see. And who knows where his numbers will wind up, but we're happy at least he's a part of this 98 team right now, and that's what we'll concentrate on.
And you saw from that quote there that he goes out and has a big year. I guess like Mo Vaughn says, the price goes up if they could go out and produce again.
Absolutely, but the one thing is, we'll do what we're comfortable with. He's going to do what he's comfortable with, and that's the key right there. And right now, over the years, we haven't gotten to that point.
Good changeup, swing and a miss by Ripken, and the bat flies over towards the Tigers dugout. And we were talking a little bit before off air about Wilson Heredia and what the Yankees saw in this young man.
Yeah, Wilson is a guy that Mark Newman and the scouting department saw a lot, and he was a 6-year minor league free agent out of the Texas organization, and he throws hard. He's got a power arm, and he can get up as high as 95. And if we can get his control in place, he could be something as an insurance policy at Columbus for us.
What I always marveled at with guys like your dad is they could look out in a huge paddock and see 50 young yearlings running around, and they knew who everyone was, the sire, the mare, who they looked like. Do you find yourself now, can you look out on the field here at the roster or over across the street and say, yeah, I know that guy, and like you just did with Heredia, or is that a challenge that you have to learn more about here?
It's a challenge I'd have to learn more about. Obviously with the Major League camp, I'm solid ground on that, but I got people like Gene Michael and Mark Newman who are going to strengthen that weak area for me, and that's what they're for, and hopefully I'll get to the point where over a few years that becomes maybe a strength for me too. But right now it's not at all.
Roller to Knobloch at second, and he'll throw out Billy Ripken, out number 1 here in the 6th. And the Yankee pitching has looked pretty good here this afternoon.
Yeah, we're happy so far at where these guys are coming along, but we have a ways to go, and it's so early in camp. We're 7-8 games in, and we can't make decisions based on 7 or 8 games. But I'd say maybe another 10 more to go, then we'll be kicking it in high gear, and we'll get a real good feel of where this club is going to go. But we're excited about us right now.
Now here's a quote from Mr. Steinbrenner as Biff Roberts takes a pitch outside.
It's an invisible quote.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you what it says, but it gives you high praise.
This pitch is hit high in the air to right field. It's going to send O'Neill back, and he can't get to it. A couple of hops, and it rolls to the wall, and Biff Roberts is going to be at second base with a stand-up double. And the Tigers have something going here in the 6th with 1 out.
Well, that's a veteran. Brian, you said in spring training the one thing you don't want to come up with is injuries, and O'Neill wasn't taking any chances of that. But that's what George Steinbrenner has to say about you as a general manager. And how about those bottom couple lines? I guess you do know about that.
Oh, absolutely. He's given us the possibility of doing great things and being a part of something special, but certainly it's governed by our decisions that we make, and that's he's got us in those positions to advise him on what direction we should go in, and obviously we'll be held accountable because he puts it out there a lot more than most of the other owners out there do, and the fans of New York, I know, appreciate that, and we do. And if our decisions don't work, that's part of society. I'll be held accountable, and that's okay. I just appreciate the opportunity now, and he's made me a stronger man at this stage of my life than I ever would have been because how demanding he is. And so I'm a better person for it, and better in my personal life and better in my professional life, because I wouldn't be anywhere near as polished as I am at 30 if I didn't work for him for the last 10 years if I worked anywhere else. I honestly believe that.
2 balls, no strikes on Luis Gonzalez. Changeup falls low, and the count goes to 3-0.
Were you surprised when you were the judge? Did you immediately think, well, they're going to go out and get some big name general manager with more experience? Were you surprised, or did you deep down in say, hey, I got a shot at being this guy?
Well, I was surprised at what took place. I mean, I didn't know that Bob was going to step down, and so Monday, I'll never forget it. It was Groundhog Day, and so I came.
Saw the shadow.
Yeah, exactly. So I came in, and Bob called me in his office about 10 a.m. and he just said he wanted to talk to me, and he let me know that he was planning to step down, and then he. Before that sunk in, he was also letting me know that he had a conversation with George the night before about it, and mentioned me as a possible replacement. And he said there was a possibility in a meeting at 2:30 that afternoon at the Regency with George that I might be offered the job. So I didn't have much time to be surprised. It was more, wow,
Yeah.
And this is all happening pretty quick, and so it was a pretty eventful day.
They mentioned that you would agree to a one-year deal. We're going to get a pinch runner here. And it's going to be Andy Tomberlin taking over at first base for Luis Gonzalez. Now, your thoughts on signing a one-year deal?
Well, given the situation, given my age, given my lack of notoriety, I just felt that I want to prove to obviously George but more importantly the fans here that of the Yankees that I can do this job, and I felt that that was the right way to go. George asked me about a term, and I asked for a 1 year, and that's what he gave me. He said, if that's what you want and that's your reasonings, I respect it, and that's where we're at.
You seem very confident and very comfortable in dealing with the media, which I'm sure is a little more intimidating than when you were an assistant and you watched Bob have to do that.
Yes, that's the one area I was scared to death on because I never had an experience with the media. I'd never had to do this, and so since you've never done something, you just don't know how you're going to react and if you'll freeze or what have you. And so my press conference, I didn't on that Tuesday, the night before, I didn't sleep much because it was going to be an unknown.
Sure.
And like most companies, there's only a few people that should speak for the company. In baseball, it's the manager, the general manager, and the owner. And so I've been kind of sheltered to the media in the fact that I'm not going to speak for the organization, and that's the way it should be. I mean, there's only going to be 3 mouthpieces, or really 4 or 5 with Gene Michael and Mark Newman in it, and that's the way it should be here. And that's that.
I liked your quote on El Duque. You're going to hold, if he is very successful, then you're going to say, well, he really is 28. But if he turns out to be a dud, well, he may, or somebody else signed him, he might be 45. A little question mark about his age.
Well, I wanted to float it out there too before we signed him. I said that quote. They said if Cleveland signs him, is he really 28? And I said, well, if we sign him, he's 28. If the Indians sign him, he's 45 and he's got wooden teeth. But we've signed him, and he's 28 years old. He might even be 27.
2 on and 2 out for the Tigers here in the 6th. Wilson Heredia trying to work out of a jam. And the pitch to Joe Randa is way up high, and it's ball 2, 2-0.
I would think your background with your dad at Castleton Farm in the horse business, I mean, you're not comparing horses to people, but there are some similarities there in building champions, different sports.
Absolutely. There's a lot of projection and a lot of dollar signs on the muscles, so to speak.
Right.
And that certainly takes place here, and it's an amazing ability that some people have to be able to look at a young high school kid and say, you know what, this guy in a few years I can project him with putting 40 pounds on or 50 pounds and growing 4 inches, and it's just amazing. And then you look at the father and how his build is. It's a very interesting process. I've loved learning about it, and I respect the people that I have in place here and that have been in place here that have that ability, like Gene Michael. It's amazing that they can do the things that they can do.
Ball 4 is going to load the bases. You move Roberts over to third, Tomberlin to second, and Joe Randa takes over at first. So Heredia has gotten himself into somewhat of a jammer. He has 2 outs, and he's going to try and get Raul Casanova to get out of the inning here in the 6th.
And this is what you knew about Heredia when you got him, right? Good arm, but questionable control.
Absolutely, and it's things we're working on, and I think we have, with Mel Stottlemyre here and Billy Connors as the pitching coordinator, the right people in place up top and down below to work with people who have the problems and get them right and be successful for the future.
He's going to work from the stretch, and the pitch to Casanova drops a breaking ball in for a strike.
Now, you said you were on the phone with general managers first couple innings of today's game. You don't sense that those veterans are going to try to take advantage of you, right? Because you're a first-year young GM.
If they
slip one by.
If they can, they're going to try to. But with guys like Gene Michael in my corner and Mark Newman, that's not going to happen. And Joe Torre down below, that's just not going to happen.
A ball and a strike on Raul Casanova. Tigers with their best opportunity to score outside of the first inning. They have the bases loaded, and they trail 3-0 here in the top of the 6th. That pitch just missed, and the count goes to 2-1.
Maybe if Brian gets a quick out here, if he can stay on for another half inning, it won't be too long, and we'll be talking about that 25-man roster, and there's really not a lot of spots for it in the Yankee roster. That most of them seem to be pretty set.
Grounded to the right side. Nice backhand pickup by Tino. The throw to first is in time. Right. A leaping Heredia makes the play, and the Yankees get out of a jam here in the top half of the 6th inning. We've played 5 1/2, and the Yankees lead at 3-0.
4-1 Yankees. We head to the top of the 8th. Couple of changes. There's your namesake out there. Against Chris Singleton. He was acquired from the San Francisco Giants in the Charlie Hayes deal. He takes over in left field. Shad Williams. You may remember Shad Williams pitched against the Yankees a couple of times last year as a member of the Anaheim Angels. And he'll take over the pitching. Singleton is on the 40-man roster. Here's Alejandro Freer, the first baseman that made that nice stretch to end the last inning. Like an off-speed pitch high for a ball.
I can tell you he has one thing I'd never had. That's pretty good speed.
Well, you can't have everything.
Yeah, well.
Another off-speed pitch, and it's a ball and a strike. Sharply to third. Brocious, a nice backhand throw and the strong backhand stop, rather, and the throw to Cruz in time. 1 down.
Yeah, Brocious looks very, very smooth over at third, isn't it? Not this herky-jerky motion that you see from some of the infielders. Just calmly scooped it up, threw over the first base. Now watch him going to his right this time. Keeping the glove low all the way across. You see him keep the glove low. It's easier to bring the glove up than put the glove back down. So he makes the play, and there's 1 out.
Here's our first look at Gabe Alvarez, who's made a couple of sparkling plays in the field. You see what he's done in 7 games. Actually, he was drafted by the Padres in '95. Then the Arizona Diamondbacks picked him up in the expansion draft, and he was with them about 24 hours and traded to the Tigers for Travis Fryman. Good pitch on the outside corner. Williams has signed a minor league contract with the Yankees. Mentioned he had 80 days of big league service. He's been with the Angels parts of the last 2 seasons, and actually pitched a pretty good game against the Yankees. Does not have a big league win, but and that might be where, you know, they stockpile pitchers like this for a little insurance. Stick them down at the AAA level, and if you get an injury, you want to have some quality pitchers to try to bring up. Right field line. Curtis near the stands. Long run, can't get it, and it'll be a bloop double down into the Yankee bullpen. So Alvarez has a 1-out double here in the Tiger 8th.
Long way to go for Curtis in right field. And anytime you see outfielders come across and off the grass into the dirt portion, it's going to be a tough play. Not well hit, but well placed by Alvarez as he picks up the 2-base hit. Good hustle by Chad Curtis out in right field.
And again, you see the veterans like Curtis and earlier Paul O'Neill. I mean, that's a play during the season. He's probably going to dive and go all out for it. But you're not going to take those kind of chances down here, and managers don't want them to.
The only people who do that in spring training are the rookies who are trying to really impress.
He joined us late. Trey Beeman injured his shoulder trying to make a diving catch earlier in the ball game for the Tigers. First at bat for Paul Bako, the catcher, who is hitting in the 5th spot now. Good swing, fouled straight back. I've written down the roster a couple of times, and I was impressed by Homer Bush's running the bases. I think he falls into that category with Andy Fox, maybe Willie Banks on the pitching staff. But you start going over the Yankees 25-man roster, there's just not much room for any newcomers. Again, fouled out of play. If Mike Stanton's back is healthy, and I guess it is, he's going to test it out in the 9th inning today. He's been sidelined a little bit by a back problem that he has had throughout his career, on and off.
Flared up early in spring training, really didn't get the work in he might have liked.
Inside pitch pulled into the Yankee dugout. So if you're sitting at home with a pencil and paper, you've got Pettit and Wells and Cone and Arabu, and let's just say Mendoza. I don't know for sure if it'll be Mendoza, but if that's your 5 starters, then you have Darren Holmes, who was acquired from the Rockies, who also is a candidate to be a number 5 starter. Then you have Nelson and Lloyd and Stanton and Rivera. That's 10 pitchers. Sharply off the tip of the glove of Cruz down into the corner. Tiger's going to pick up another run, and Bako will have a standing double. And it's 4-2 Yankees.
Well, back-to-back doubles off of Shad Williams, and completely different in nature. A bloop double and then a rocket past Cruz at first base. The ball was out where it should be hit hard, and you can see up over the glove and on down into the right field corner.
Not much chance for Cruz on that one, as Gabe Alvarez scores the Tigers' 2nd run. 1 down in the top of the 8th. Yankees still lead at 4-2, and Pedro Swan steps in for his 2nd at bat. Outside, ball 1. So we got 10 pitchers. You got Girardi and Posada behind the plate. That's 12. And you look around the infield, you have Martinez, Knobloch, Jeter, Brocious, and Swain is 5 there. Now we're up to 17. Outside, 2-0. Go to the outfield. You have O'Neill, Williams, Curtis, and Raines. We're up to 21. Chili Davis is a DH, is 22. You throw Strawberry in there at 23. Soho has got to be. He's coming off the injured hand, but he's going to start taking batting practice tomorrow. He's there for 24. So you maybe have 1 spot left for Fox or Bush, or probably scan that roster. We may have even forgotten 1 or 2 that there's so much talent on that team. Got him. Off-speed pitch. Oh, that's strike 2. Split finger. Thought it was strike 3, but Cedarstrom says 2 balls and 2 strikes.
You know, coming to spring training years ago, when you first make your big league camp, first big league camp, you have the feeling that you're going to have a great spring to even think about making it to the big league. And even if you do have a great spring, you're going back to the minors.
Right.
And then, as you mentioned before, as you get a little further on in your career, and you look at those young players in a different light. When they come to spring training, you look at them and you say, it's not your year yet.
Yeah. You got to put your time in.
Yeah, that's right.
And on the hands, popped out into medium deep center field. Pose is there, makes the grab. Bako will retreat. That's the 2nd out of the 8th inning. Yeah, that's the challenge for Brian Cashman and his staff, and I guess Derek Jeter would be a good example. You know, they saw him in spring training, knew he was going to be an outstanding player, but they let him have a couple of good seasons down at AAA. He did come up briefly in 1995, and then it was his time, and he moved right in. We've seen what a star he has already become. Luis Gonzalez takes strike 1. Check that. It's Almanzar, the 2nd baseman. There's Willie Randolph, who has been coaching first base in today's game. pulled foul. And it's a ball and a strike. Same thing happened with Chuck Knobloch. I remember covering the Twins, where those are those arguments that go on between the coaching staff and the front office, where the coaches say, I like this kid, he can help us, and the front office and the minor league people are saying, nah, he's not ready, you're going to put too much pressure on him. Let him spend another year in the minor leagues, or a half a year. Those are the decisions that Brian Cashman, Joe Torre, and their staffs will make here in the next couple weeks.
You know, a lot of that depends on the type of ball club you're trying to break into. If it's a young club, not much of a chance to win, you got a better shot at making it. As you said, you come to the Yankees here, and you know everything is just about set. The Yankees are trying to win the World Championship year in and year out, so it makes it that much more difficult to break into the Yankee lineup.
A couple more close pitches from Williams, both just missed, and the count has gone 3-1 to Almanzar. Popped up. Swain back. And put away by Singleton in left field, his first put out. So the Tigers come up with another run in the 8th. We head to the bottom of the 8th. The Yankees have been in control of this one from the start. They lead it 4-2. 4-2 Yankees. Well played game. Neither team's committed an error. We head to the bottom of the 8th inning. A reminder that Monday night at 7 o'clock, it's the New York Rangers and the New Jersey Devils. The action gets underway with Texaco Game Night right here on MSG Monday at 7 p.m. And the first look at 21-year-old Matt Anderson. And that's what he's known for. Now, for the first time in their history, the Tigers had the first overall selection in the June draft, and here's who they selected. 6'4", 200 pounds out of Rice University. And that fastball is clocked at 99 miles an hour. It's got a little movement to it.
And a little tail on the end of it makes it that much more difficult to hit. Just when a hitter starts to bat, the ball moves out of the plane.
That's low and away. He's a non-rostered player. No, again, like you said last inning, when a kid comes to spring training, you can have a great spring, but there's very little chance you're going to make the ball club. They're going to give him a little opportunity to show. Ooh,
little flashback.
Yeah, he got your attention. That little spring training chin music there for Ivan Cruz. Count goes to 2-2.
He's still got bruises that haven't healed.
Wow, like Betty Bell's got to like what he saw in the first at bat there. As those short relievers all have their own little character. See how he's got that cap pulled down over his eyes, got that game face scowl on. So, yeah, you guys are the Yankees. Bring it on. I'll show you what I got.
You mentioned out of Rice University. That's where Jose Cruz Jr. played ball.
They were teammates. So Cruz a strikeout victim, and the first at bat for Chris Singleton. Don't blame him. I'm going to try to bunt that fastball. The mention that some of the cuts have already been made. Some of the pitchers sent across the street here, about a half a mile down the road to the minor league camp. Their first full day, I believe, was today. Blows that one by him 0-2, and I think in the next couple of days, for certain, when we come back in 2 weeks for our next telecast, the roster will be pared down to, probably about 30. Two names we didn't mention, Ricky Leday and Mike Lowell. Both would have an outside shot of making the team. Got him. 2 hitters, 2 punch outs. Well, Buddy Bell might be saying, maybe we can take him north with us. So maybe he is ready.
Has he thrown a breaking ball yet? I don't think he's thrown a breaking ball.
Doesn't have to.
Not at this point. If a hitter's going to continue to flail at it like this, moving fastball down and away. Chris Singleton out on strikes.
And Scott Brocious, who's had a nice day at the plate. A couple of sharp singles the opposite way, 2 for 3. That pitch low for a ball. He's got the demeanor a bit of the right-handed reliever for the Anaheim Angels, Mike James. James tugs that cap down over his face, over his forehead.
I don't think he has the sideburns that James has.
That's high. It's 2-0.
Same type of build.
He was a short reliever in college, and so the Tigers had that in mind when they drafted him. Hit well, right center field. Swan on the run, so is Barty, and they're not going to get that one. Brocious has his 3rd hit of the game. So Yankee fans that are tuning into our first telecast today get a good look at the probable 3rd baseman for the Yankees and what he's capable of.
There was a pretty good 3rd baseman right there, Buddy Bell. I mentioned that Anderson hadn't thrown a breaking ball. He still hasn't. Maybe he ought to mix one into Brocious here. He throws his fastball, and it's located in the middle of the plate. And Brocious turns on it, drives it to the gap in right center. Pedro Swan was playing very shallow, and he's going to pay the price for it over his head as the center fielder Barty recovers it.
So Brocious at second with 2 down, and here's Mike Figa. That's in for a strike. Jorge Posada started the game, did most of the catching. Figa took over in the last part, and that's what Mike has done in 2 spring training games. There's that breaking ball. His first one, pretty good slider, misses low and away. A ball and a strike. Anderson in his career 30-6 with 230 strikeouts in 224 innings. Gives you an idea of the power he had during his time at Rice. That's fouled out of play, and it's 1-2. And he actually did a little starting in 1996, but I think he's established himself as a short reliever. The Tigers have signed Todd Jones to a long-term contract as their short reliever for the time being.
And Jones picked up 31 saves last year for Detroit.
Slider misses, 2-2. Mike wearing that protective pad that Jim Leyritz used to wear, and Mo Vaughn, just guys that dive into the ball, are subject to getting hit on that bicep. Got him. Out on strikes. Anderson strikes out the side, sandwiched around a Brocious double. We head to the 9th. The Yankees lead it 4-2.
The top half of the 9th inning. Young man, I wonder if he had to pay double the price to get in today. Yankees leading 4-2. Our last 2 spring training games, Royals and the Yankees, Saturday, March 21st, 2 weeks from today. And the very next day, Sunday the 22nd, the Yankees will take on the Texas Rangers.
There's next Ranger, Mike Stanton, who was a big part of the Yankee bullpen last year. We mentioned he's been bothered by some back stiffness this spring. When you look at Mike's pitching motion, you can understand how the older he gets, the more that would be a problem. But he's going to try to close it out here and pitch the last inning. Looking ahead beyond our 2 spring training games, the Yankees will open the season again on the West Coast. Last year it was in Seattle. This year they'll open against the Anaheim Angels and then complete the West Coast swing, playing Oakland and Seattle. And if you wanted to project that far, there's still a lot of baseball to be played, but I think you could look for Andy Pettitte and David Wells to start games 1 and 2, and you might even see David Cone making a start in Oakland, coming back farther ahead of schedule than they anticipated. Barty takes strike 1.
And talking to David today before the game, I think he's quite pleased at his progress, and he should be. In his last outing, he struck out 5 men.
Well, what they do now with surgical procedures, that's in for a quick strike. It's 0-2. They went in and wasn't any damage to the rotator cuff, but the labrum, there's a lot of medical terms for the muscles in that shoulder, and over years of wear and tear, there's little shreds of tissue here and there, and they're able to clean all that out and come back very quickly. Ball and 2 strikes. Left field, Singleton is there. Glasses down. Puts it away, 1 down.
You ever see one of those procedures happen? I saw the videotape of an actual cleaning up of a shoulder area, and they have a little camera where the doctor follows, and you know the weed whackers, weed eaters that you have?
Yeah.
That's what the machine is like, or whatever they call it. The tool is like that's inside your shoulder cleaning things up, and he turns it on with a button. When he needs to clean something up, turns it off, and turns it back on. It's very interesting to watch.
I could have used one of those weed whackers back about 20 years ago. This is Luis Garcia, takes ball 1. I did see the knee procedure. Dr. Dan Cannell, who was for a long time the spring training orthopod for the Yankees when they trained in Fort Lauderdale, is now affiliated with the Marlins. That's single sharply into right field for Garcia. And a 1-out base runner for the Tigers, and actually was able to watch him do the arthroscopic procedure on my knee, there where you can actually watch it. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've had that procedure too, but I didn't get to see it. I said I don't want to see it.
You had the full money.
Yeah, the full. I was gone.
Pete Incaviglia, slim Pete Incaviglia, trying to make this Tiger club, represents the tying run here with 1 down in the top of the 9th. Breaking ball misses. Joined us late. There have been some real highlights for the Yankees today. Arabu pitched 4 scoreless innings, controlled a little shaky at the start of the game, but got better as the game went on. Dale Swaim hit a home run. Scott Brocious has had a big day with 3 hits. Chuck Knobloch started and performed well at second base. Chili Davis got a base knock, so if you've been with us, you've had a chance to see some of the new Yankees in action. Fouled straight back, and it's 2-1.
The Tigers very aggressive last year, leading the league in steals, as we mentioned near the beginning of the game, and another runner off and going. That's Garcia, maybe trying to stay out of the double play with Incaviglia at the plate.
Good fastball by Stanton upstairs. 3-1. I would think right now it's a time when the pitcher's stuff would feel the best. Usually when you get down to spring training, the first couple times out, your stuff feels real good. Now you're going to begin to hear a term called the dead arm period, where for about 5 or 6 days, hit well right field, but Curtis is right there, and he'll put it away. And the Yankees are 1 out away from wrapping this one up. There's about 5 or 6 days in spring training where you pick up a ball and you're throwing it with all the strength you can, and there's just nothing there. And every pitcher has to go through that period of time, and then when you get toward the end of March, you know, it begins to come back again. Some pitchers get a little earlier than others, but today, just going by the sound of the glove, it appears that that the pitchers have had pretty good pop on their fastball. Outfielders probably didn't have that problem.
Some pitchers have that problem all the time.
Their whole career. I had that dead arm period my whole career. Here's Tomberlin, hit well. We're going to have a tie ball game. A 2-run shot with 2 down here in the 9th, and the Tigers have tied it. Andy Tomberlin, the veteran left-hander, turns a Mike Stanton fastball around.
And that just goes to show you. Now, last time up, he faced Brian Looney, another left-hander, and looked really bad at the plate. But this time, he picks the first pitch that he sees, and it's right there for the taking, and drills it right out of the ballpark. So Andy Tomberlin trying to jump on as a pinch hitter, maybe a 5th, 6th outfielder. Makes a bid.
Did himself some good there. This is a bloop inside the right field line. Curtis plays it well, and the strong throw to second not in time, and Alejandro Freer has a 2-out double. And the Tigers making a little noise here with 2 out in the 9th inning.
Here's a look at the swing, and kind of an inside-out swing. Ball might have jammed him somewhat. But Freer's at second base and representing the go-ahead run here in the ninth.
That'll bring up Gabe Alvarez, the third base prospect the Tigers acquired from Arizona for Travis Fryman. Curveball blocked by Figa. A lot of the regulars that will be in the Tiger lineup during the year not here today. Bobby Higginson's not here. Brian Hunter, Tony Clark, Damian Easley. That's in for a strike. Most of the time when teams travel, it's sort of a courtesy rule. You bring at least 4 of your everyday starters when you make a trip on the road. The Tigers train in Lakeland. They have for many years. It's about an hour from here. Nice block by Figa. And that'll keep Freer at second base.
Every once in a while in spring training, you'll hear the home team complain that the visiting team did not bring enough stars to make it worthwhile for the fans. And
sure. Especially the big name teams. You know, you come to a spring training game and say with the Red Sox, well, you want to see Mo Vaughn. Or if it's the Yankees, you want to see Tino Martinez and Bernie Williams. So when the Yankees make a road trip, they will always take 4 of their everyday starters, at least 4, sometimes a few more. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs here in the top of the ninth. The Tigers have tied it on Andy Tomberlin's home run. Chop toward third. Brocious with a strong throw to Cruz in time, and we're heading to the home half of the ninth. Some late lightning by Andy Tomberlin has tied this game at 4 as we head to the bottom of the ninth inning. Back at Legends Field in Tampa, shadows creeping in around home plate, and we're tied at 4 as the Tigers struck for 4 runs in the last 3 innings. Mike Stanton not happy with that inning. Looked like he had a pretty good fastball, but Andy Tomberlin turned one of them around to tie the ball game.
He got it up a little bit, and then Tomberlin's happy zone. Mel Stoudemire with a it's only spring training sort of pat.
And of course in spring training you don't necessarily play the game till you have a winner. It depends on how many pitchers the Tigers have taken with them. If they have enough pitching to go a couple of more innings, if the Yankees don't score, they'll do it. There's their next pitcher, left-hander Pedro Martinez, not to be confused with the right-handed Pedro Martinez that'll pitch for the Red Sox this year. This Pedro, 29 years old, came up with the Padres, spent some time with the Astros, the Mets, and last year with the Cincinnati Reds, and he'll face Shane Spencer, who's been quite a spring hitter these last couple of years. 3 for 6 this year.
Now you shouldn't confuse Pedro Martinez of the Tigers with Pedro Martinez of the Red Sox. Martinez of the Red Sox has a heavier paycheck and he throws a lot harder,
and he's got a better changeup.
Yeah, he does.
Well, that's what's going to make the American League East an exciting division to follow this year, with the improvement by the Red Sox. Up the middle, Spencer out of the reach of the diving Luis Garcia has his 4th hit of the spring to lead off the Yankee ninth. Shane Spencer made quite an impression last year, Kenny, with the long ball.
This one kind of off the end of the bat. It broke his bat, but still gets it by the shortstop Garcia. Just out of his reach. I used to love that. And in the center field for a base hit.
Shane known more for his power. Hit 30 home runs last year and drove in 86, and he'll be replaced by a pinch runner. Donzel McDonald, and he can fly. Will come in to pinch run for Shane Spencer in an apparent sacrifice situation. Homer Bush already showing bunt. He doesn't care if everybody in the ballpark knows he's going to bunt. If he drops down a good one, he'll advance McDonald easily.
If he drops down a really good one, he might put pressure on the Tigers to make the play at first. The type of speed that he has. He got a base hit last time up, stole 2 bases.
And the other option, when you have speed in your lineup, there's Willie Randolph now at third base flashing the signs, is McDonald can steal second base. You bunt him to third. Increase your chances of getting the winning run home. Modest lead. Toward first. Freer will have but one play. So the sacrifice successful. The winning run in scoring position.
Well, textbook baseball. You get the leadoff man on a tie ball game, trying to pick up the winning run. Nice position by Bush. Trying to catch the ball on the end of the bat, and he does just that. See the eyes right down onto the bat as it makes contact with the ball. Holding the bat parallel and gets the bunt down in good stead and gets the runner over.
That'll bring up Dale Swain. He'll now turn around and hit from the right side of the plate. And you see the average at 133. I mentioned like all of you switch hitters, he's a natural righty, but now feels more comfortable from the left side of the plate. That's upstairs for a ball.
One thing having a switch hitter coming off the bench for their manager, it gives him one less move he has to make late in the ball game. He might have had to pinch hit for Swaim here, who was just a left-handed hitter. Instead, he leaves him in, and hopefully he can come through and get the big hit.
Big swing, strike one. And were you this way as a switch hitter? I've talked to Chili Davis about it before. It's that first at bat. In other words, you've had 3 left-handed bats. Now you come up, it's that first at bat that seems to be the toughest.
Yeah, you feel uncomfortable maybe after your first swing. Whether it's a hit or whatever, you start to zero back in.
Oh, they've got McDonald caught. He doesn't get around the tag, and he's retired at second base. So McDonald thinking about stealing third, committed too early, and the Tigers executed the pickoff play.
Nice play by Pedro as he lifted that leg up and then feigned as if he was going home. Then the throw, and McDonald is out. He was trying to get to third with 1 out. Look, he's off and running. First movement, he was headed for third, and it cost him.
And Swaim late on the fastball. Count goes to 1-2. There's Joe Torre's reaction.
And Joe's probably thinking a youngster, inexperienced base runner.
Yeah, just committed a little too early. He waits another second. He probably could have stolen third base. And Swaim down on strikes, so we're heading to extra innings. Martinez pitches a scoreless 9th. And we head to the top of the 10th inning here at Legends Field. We're tied at 4. Tied at 4. We head to the top of the 10th. Tigers scored 4 runs in the last 3 innings to come back and tie it. And lots of changes. Donzel McDonald, who went into pinch run last inning, will stay in and take over in center field. Mike Lowell, the quiet, sure-handed third baseman, gets a chance to come into the ball game. Gabby Martinez had a big year last year at Norwich for the Yankees. He'll play shortstop. And Paul Baker will lead it off for the Tigers in the top of the 10th. McDonald going into pinch run last inning. Kenny, I think one thing Joe Torre wanted to look at was his ability to steal a base. He played for Tampa last year and was voted the best and fastest base runner in the Florida State League.
Just a hair too fast last inning.
Stanton's first pitch, a breaking ball, misses. But Bako did commit, says Richie Garcia, the third base umpire. The umpires get a chance usually in spring training to do their work near where they live. And Richie, a resident of the Tampa Bay area, works a lot of games here for the Yankees and the neighboring teams. That slice foul down the left field line, and it's 0-2 to Bako.
Controversy the last few years with Richie, and
no stranger to Yankee battles, is he?
Exactly.
With the Derek Jeter home run and the '96 LCS. And on the hand, still 0-2 to Bako. He joined us late. Hideki Irabu pitched a pretty solid 4 innings, a little while in the first 2, but 4 scoreless innings. And Scott Brosius has had a big day. Dale Swaim hit a home run. Darryl Strawberry's had a good day with a couple of good at-bats. That's in for a strike, and Bako is down on strikes. Big advantage right now for the pitchers. This is that time of the afternoon with those shadows creeping around. Very difficult to see the ball.
Stanton really places his fastball well over the outside corner, just right there. Not much that Bako could have done except head back to the dugout.
And we'll get another pinch hitter for the Tigers, Gabe Kapler. First pitch swinging, fouled out of play.
The Tigers have used up just about all of their bench. Joe Siddle, a catcher, still left.
And on the hands, center field. McDonald with a late break recovers in time with that blazing speed and makes the grab. And there's 2 down in the Tiger 10th. That'll bring up Richard Almanzar. He's gone the distance today. A couple of hits and a couple of flyouts, as you see in the graphic. Getting a chance to play. Damian Easley stayed back in Lakeland today, the regular Tiger second baseman. Bunt attempt right back to Stanton, bobbles it, but recovers in time and throws him out. So Stanton has a 1-2-3 10th, and the Yankees will come to bat in the top of the 10th with another chance to win it. We've played 9.5 here in Tampa, and we're tied at 4. We're tied at 4. We head to the bottom of the 10th. Beautiful afternoon in Tampa. Those storms they predicted did not materialize. We want to remind you that Tuesday night right here on MSG, starting with the MSC Cannon Game Night Show, it's the Knicks and the Orlando Magic right here on MSG. 7 o'clock Tuesday night. Right field Gabe Kapler, who went in to pinch hit last inning, stays in the ball game. And Chad Curtis, who took over for Paul O'Neill in right field, will lead it off for the Yankees. Non-rostered player trying to make the Yankee ball club, getting some at-bats, is Phil Hyatt. Well, what a hitting prospect he was coming up with the Kansas City Royals a couple of years ago. Outstanding fastball hitter. And Curtis, first pitch swinging, fouls that into the hands of Willie Randolph.
Still with the good hands, and a souvenir for a young fan in the first row there.
Yankee coaching staff all intact from last year. Curveball misses, 1-1. Jose Cardinal on the line at first. Willie back at third. Tony Cloninger out in the bullpen. Mel Stoudemire's back again. Of course, Don Zimmer, Joe Torre's bench coach. 2-1 to Curtis. There's TC guarding the bullpen. Toward third base, another nice play by Alvarez. That was a tough hop. And And he's impressed Buddy Bell along with everybody else with his play at third base today. One down in the Yankee 10th.
Well, you figure a Gold Glover like Buddy Bell is going to take a lot to impress him with play at third base. But one thing I was surprised that the youngster wasn't playing a little closer to the line. He cut that ball off in a hole and throws him out. Situations like this might dictate you guard the line just a little bit. Try and prevent that extra base hit. Maybe with 2 outs he'll move over there. There's a throw to first.
And stepping in now for the Yankees is Phil Hyatt. Good swing straight back. Talked to Brian Cashman when he was up here earlier about how difficult it is for scouts to project. I remember when Hyatt came up with the Royals a couple years ago, he looked like he was going to be an outstanding hitter. Royals had a difficult time finding a position for him. And now he gets a chance to come to Yankee camp as a non-rostered player.
Listed as an infielder, first baseman.
Late on that one, and it's 0-2. Actually, he was property of the Tigers last year, actually 2 years ago, and then last year went over to Japan, so he's made a couple trips since his Royals days. He was an 8th round pick back in 1990 for the Royals. On the hands, hit out the center field. Barty is there. He makes the call and the catch, and there's 2 down in the Yankee 10th.
Players like Barty and the second baseman Almanzar, when those frontline players don't make the trip on the bus, you know you're going to be in there for the whole game. So a chance to really show something. Almanzar's gotten a couple of hits today.
All the veterans are in there saying, man, spring training, extra innings, come on. But the young players that have come along are saying, hey, let's go 15 or 16. We want a chance to play. Here's Ivan Cruz. That's in for a strike. Joey Eishen is going to come in to take over the pitching for the Yankees in the top of the 11th. Another former Expo. The Yankees are taking a look at quite a few left-handers this spring, non-rostered lefties. Swung on and missed 1-2. Dave Fleming, a native New Yorker. Pitched for some time for the Mariners, is in camp as a non-rostered player. Breaking ball misses, and it's 2-2 to Ivan Cruz.
Martinez got Cruz to chase that previous breaking ball, so he came back with another one, and Cruz laid off to even up the count. Fool me once, but maybe not twice.
Grounded towards second. Almanzar, who has been in there for all 10 innings, makes the play. And the Yankees are retired in the 10th. So 1 pitch from winning this ball game in regulation. We now head to the top of the 11th, tied at 4. Back at Legends Field, this took place between innings. And what Buddy Bell, the Tiger manager, is explaining to Joe Torre, since we're heading to the 11th inning, he's saying, look, they're laughing because they said we never liked these extra inning spring training games, did we? But I think Buddy said, look, I brought X amount of pitchers with me, and I've got 1 left, so we can go 1 more inning. And I would suspect if there is no scoring here in the next inning, Bill Hurst warming up to pitch the bottom of the 11th for the Tigers. If there's no scoring, this game will end at a 4-4 tie at the end of 11. So another left-hander on trial here for the Yankees, Joey Eishen. Did you have a chance to see him in Montreal?
Yeah, very good arm. Control suspect at times. He looks like there's a lot of young left-handers. They throw hard, but they really can't really zero into the strike zone. Pitched for the Dodgers as well for a while.
First pitch misses for a ball. Marabarti has also been in for the entire game for the Tigers. He leads it off here in the 11th. Fouled outside of third. Lowell cuts it off. Now Mike Lowell's a guy that would like to see this game go a little while. If there's a couple of positions that are up for grabs, if you want to say that, third base Brocious appears to have the inside track, but Lowell was very impressive last year, hitting 30 home runs between Norwich and Columbus. And in talking with Don Zimmer and Greg Nettles, they like his footwork, they like his accurate arm, and all of his actions around third base. Good breaking ball by Eischen is in for a strike, and it's 1-2.
Eischen, one of those left-handers that's bounced around, made one appearance for Cincinnati last year, one game.
Blocked by Figgett, 2-2. And when you look at guys like Eischen and Looney and Lowell, if they don't fit into the Yankee plans, that's why Brian Cashman's on that phone talking to those general managers. You know, if the name, let's just throw out a name like Randy Johnson comes up, you say, well, who can you give us for him? I would think that's going to be the big prize during the year in the American League East, is as the battle unfolds. If Seattle isn't in contention, they know they're going to lose him next year to the Diamondbacks anyway. Grounded toward shortstop. Gabby Martinez. Ooh, strong throwing arm, and didn't get him. Marti looked like he clipped Cruz on the foot as he got to first base, but that gives you a little idea of his speed from the right side of the plate.
You can imagine what he's like going down there left-handed, but it looked like Martinez did everything right and then really gunned the ball across the diamond. Maybe it took him a little while to wind up, but you can see he is safe. Marti beats it out. My goodness.
And he would be a threat to attempt to steal second base. He stole 2 bases in the first inning for the Tigers when Arabu worked out of a 2-on no-out jam.
Gives you an idea if Marti is that fast. Brian Hunter's supposed to be faster.
Gives the Tigers a little speed coming off the bench, figuring Hunter's going to be the everyday center fielder. Bunted but foul by Garcia. Getting back to Randy Johnson, I would think come June or July, depending on how that race unfolds, there's going to be everybody's going to be keeping an eye on Cleveland, the Yankees, whoever, Baltimore, whoever's in contention with them, to see who's going to offer the most for Randy Johnson.
You got to figure though that Seattle's going to be in the race in the Western Division with their offense. They might have to win some games 12-10, but they can do it.
Yeah. Pitch out, nothing doing, and it's a ball and a strike to Garcia. I would think the Yankees are going to open with them. In fact, the Yankees will see the West Coast teams the first 2 weeks of April. They play 9 games on the West Coast and then come right back and play 8 or 9 more at the stadium. But a team that might be about ready to reach their potential are the Anaheim Angels. They've had that great talk about Angels in the outfield. They've had those great young outfielders now for a few years, Anderson, Edmonds, and Salmon. And they have retained Ken Hill, so if they put any kind of a pitching staff together, they're giving Jack McDowell an opportunity to make their staff this spring. Barti's lead at first. He led off the 11th inning with an infield single. And Garcia bunts it out in front of the plate. Lowell will make the play to first base. Barti advances, and the Tigers have the lead run in scoring position here with 1 down in the 11th.
Well, each team has been able to get down a sacrifice bunt in extra innings. Boy, Louis. Playing it just the way you should. See Lowell mentioned how sure-handed he is. Bare hand pickup, throw accurate to Homer Bush at first. And once again, a good job of getting down a sacrifice bunt. Garcia has come on and had 2 hits, scored a run. and laid down a pretty good sacrifice.
Buddy Bell has had a chance to look at some of the players, and we've talked about it in the early part of the ball game, that are going to do the kind of things the Tigers will have to do to win. They're not going to be as much of a power hitting team anymore. They're going to move to a bigger ballpark in a couple of years, and the emphasis will be on pitching and defense. Sky high to center field. McDonald back on the track and almost runs out of room, but puts it away. Barti will think about scoring and gets back to third base in time. He thought about trying to score from second on that sacrifice fly, and he almost had a shot at it.
Well, if you had that type of speed, you might as well think about it, because once the ball stayed in the ballpark, he's the one that represents the winning run, the potential winning run. He's going to go back and tag up. This ball didn't miss much by going out of the ballpark. I think Gavilia just got underneath it. And to give him credit, he started hard, knowing that you know, he's going to make third easy.
Right.
But he went as if he was going to try and score.
And Perry Hill held him up at the last moment. Here's Andy Tomberlin, who hit the big 2-run homer to send us into extra innings. And that's up and in for a ball. That reminded me, Kenny, that play of the 1982 World Series. I was fortunate enough to be with the St. Louis Cardinals when we had those running machines like Willie McGee and Ozzie Smith, and I think that might be a World Series record. They scored, two of them scored on a sacrifice fly in Milwaukee. Ozzie Smith scored from second base on a sacrifice fly to deep left center field. Tomberlin takes low for a ball, and it's 2-0. Mentioned Andy at 31 years old, prospect of the Red Sox when he first came up, has played for Oakland and the Pirates, and his best shot at making this Tiger team is doing what he did in the ninth, coming off the bench, pinch hitting. Grounded foul, 2-1.
That pitch he hit in the ninth inning was a fastball in for Mike Stanton. And he had a pretty good rip at this last pitch from Joey Ashton. Once again, a fastball in.
Barti at third with 2 down. And that backs Tomberlin off the plate. It's 3-1. Had a chance to visit with some of the other Yankee players that you didn't see in action today. Andy Pettitte, who looks very fit and is spending some time working on a changeup. A couple of years ago, Andy worked on the cut fastball. That's been a big weapon for him. Swings through that, 3-2, and that's the mark of a successful pitcher. He knows that in order to stay at the level he's at, he's got to add something. You either add a pitch, or you improve one of the ones that you've got, or you do something to add a little deception to your motion, keep those hitters from catching up with you.
Look there.
Those flashbacks coming back to you. Tomberlin draws a walk with 2 down in the 11th. That'll give the Tigers runners at the corners. And Alejandro Friere, who took over at first base for the Tigers halfway through the ball game, will step in for the 3rd time. Friere's a non-rostered player, and last year played at Lakeland right here in Florida.
Yankees better be aware of the 1st and 3rd situation here.
Ripped into right field, and that's going to be in for a base hit. Will score the lead run. Tomberlin will hold at second, and the Tigers have taken the lead here in the top of the 11th. Friere's 2nd hit of the ball game.
Tigers have had a few guys come off the bench swinging the bats. Friere is one. Garcia is another. Tomberlin got a big hit, the home run to tie the game. Fastball up out over the plate, driven to the opposite field for the base hit. That gives the Tigers the lead here in the 11th inning.
Barti scores that 5th run for the Tigers. And here's Gabe Alvarez, who has looked very, very solid at third base. And he has a double and has scored a run. Outside, 2-0. Mentioned Alvarez was a top draft choice Actually a second rounder and a top prospect of the Padres in 1995, but just in a couple of short years he's gone to Arizona in the expansion draft and then traded to the Tigers for Travis Fryman. That misses. 2-0.
Yeah, thinking by the Tigers is that Joe Randa is more like a stopgap at third base until this young man is ready. He'll probably start the year at Toledo at AAA. You ever playing at Toledo ballpark?
I've broadcast a game there but never played there. Ran into their old manager the other day. In fact, I think he was in Yankee camp last week. Alvarez draws a walk, and that's Cal Irmer.
Oh.
Managed there for many years.
It's one of the oldest ballparks, I think, in the whole country. And from what I understand, they're still playing there. I hope they updated it some, because it was kind of old and dilapidated years ago when I played there.
Torrey and Zimmer look on, hoping Eischen can throw a couple of strikes here. The Tigers now have them loaded. They've taken the lead here in the top of the 11th. And Paul Bako, who has a double and an RBI, will step in against Joey Eischen. In for a strike. Curveball hangs high. Fouled out of play, and it's a ball and 2 strikes to Bako.
One thing this extra inning ball game has done here at Legends Field, it sent a lot of people home early. Seen up baseball. Yep.
They sell out every game, but they haven't stuck around. Of course, we see that during the season. The games are so much longer these days, and I think the average fan stays for about 7 innings or maybe 2.5 hours, and they've said we've seen enough, and they move on. Sometimes they miss a lot of the action, which they did today. Eischen, 28 years old. He'll be 28 this May. Left-hander. Kenny mentioned he pitched briefly with Cincinnati last year. Waves at that one, and Figa will tap home plate for the inning ending out. But the Tigers have taken the lead here in the top of the 11th inning off Joey Eischen. We head to the home half of the 11th. The Tigers trying to come back and beat the Yankees. They lead it by 1. Tigers lead at 5-4, and they'll call on 6'7" Bill Hurst to try to close it down for him.
Looking on the right-hander Hurst, who is in the Florida Marlins organization. You can see his spring numbers, but he's only appeared in 2 ball games in the major leagues. It's going back to 2 years ago in '96, and didn't give up any runs. But he's had a lot of problems with the disabled list over the years, and primarily elbow problems. He's also had knee surgery, so he's no stranger to the operating room, and that's kind of held back his career.
And when you see all those elbow surgeries and injuries, you wonder, is it a slider or a forkball? Usually a guy that has elbow problems, it's one of those 2 pitches. But still, at 27 years of age, the Tigers want to give him another opportunity. And the Yankees will lead it off with Chris Singleton. I would guess that this will be the last half inning of play, no matter what happens. Buddy Bell and Joe Torre had discussed between innings how much pitching each team had left. And so Chris Singleton will lead it off against Bill Hurst. Invite you to stay with us after this game. We'll have a clubhouse report, as we always do, from Michael Kay, who has, of course, been in spring training the entire time with the Yankees and has been down at field level. And we'll have a report from the happenings in the Yankee clubhouse. Singleton takes strike 1. Mentioned he was acquired from the San Francisco Giants in the Charlie Hayes trade. Hit well left field. Tomberlin is right there. Glasses down, puts it away, 1 down. We are going to get a look at Mike Lowell. He is due to hit next for the Yankees. You see what he's done during spring training. Mentioned last year, 15 home runs at Norwich and 15 more at Columbus. And Brian Cashman, during our visit, had talked about his reliance on Gene Michael on the stick for information on players. And I know Gene Michael last year was very high on Mike Lowell, and this might be why. Is it deep enough? Tomberlin at the track will make the grab, and Mike Lowell, in a bid to tie the game, drives Tomberlin to the warning track, and he hauls it in, 2 down.
Didn't quite have that sound coming off the bat. Sounded like it got in on the hands just enough, and maybe the shadows have something to do with it. Picked it up a little late. Oh, it looked like it was off the end of the bat. But showing quick hands and a quick bat.
Yeah, nice compact swing. I think that's what the Yankees like about him, is when you look at his minor league stats, he's usually walked more than he's struck out. Good contact hitter. So the last hope is Mike Figa. That's outside for a ball. Tigers tied it with 2 out in the top of the 9th, and the Yankees now would like to do the same thing as they trail by 1. Ground foul, ball and a strike. We'll be with you in 2 weeks right here from Legends Field. We'll have back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday, Kansas City Royals and Texas Rangers. And then April 1st, not that far away, that is opening night, the Anaheim Angels.
Both managers got to see just about their full rosters today.
Low for a ball, 2-1. There's the 2 games, Saturday at 1 o'clock, the Royals, and then Sunday at 1 p.m., the Texas Rangers. Good fastball by Hurst, and the Yankees down to their last strike. Buddy Bell did such a good job last year with these Tigers. They improved 26 games. That's the biggest improvement of any team in the major leagues last year. This year they'll play in the American League Central Division. Hit well, left field and deep. Tomberlin on the run, looks up, and we're tied at 5. Mike Figa.
They saw the look on Buddy Bell's face. You've heard of the show, The X-Files? I mean, it's a great show. I watch it every Sunday. Managers have the Y-Files. Why do these things happen to us? You know? A home run ties the score.
Wow. Well, the fans that have stuck around have seen some late inning heroics. The Tigers tie it with 2 out, and now the Yankees go back to tie it. Donzel McDonald, who went into pinch run, will get his first at bat, and it's quickly 2-0. Well, Mike Figa, he's done that before. He's checked that. This is Ricky Leday pinch hitting. Name we mentioned could be in the left field mix, but with so many veteran Yankees, not much chance for him to crack the lineup. Oh, it is McDonald. It's not Leday. McDonald, number 84, who went into pinch run. Swings through the fastball. I would expect if Ricky Leday would still be around, we'll see him in one of our weekend games when we're back here in 2 weeks. Count holds 2-2.
It looked like Hurst tried to get a little too fancy with a breaking ball and ended up hanging it. And Mike Figa rode it out of the ballpark. You say more home runs are hit on bad breaking balls?
Yep. Late inning bad breaking balls. Sure are. Got him. So Hurst strikes out McDonald. And let's see. That appears the Yankees are not taking the field. That appears to be the end of the ball game. It's going to end in a 5-5 tie as Buddy Bell has run out of pitchers. Notifies Gary Cederstrom. So you see the totals: 5-12-0 for the Yankees, or the Tigers, and 5-13-0 for the Yankees. Lots more to talk about here from Legends Field. Our report with Michael Kay at field level. So stay with us. We'll be back on MSG after this. The Yankees and the Tigers end in a 5-5 tie in 11 innings. A 5-5 tie in 11 innings is the way it ended up. The Yankees thought they had it won with 2 out in the 9th, and Andy Tomberlin hit a 2-run homer off Mike Stanton, and then Mike Figa returned the favor and tied it at 5. That's a look at the Yankee pitching line. Kenny, some good points, some bad ones.
Well, Irabu, 4 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, a little shaky at first, got stronger as he went along, 1 strikeout. Wilson already has shown a pretty good fastball out of the bullpen. Then as things started to happen for the Tigers offensively against Looney, Williams, Stanton, and Joey Ashton, as they gave up some runs, including that home run in the 9th inning that tied it up with 2 outs off of Mike Stanton.
I think some of the good points tonight, Irabu did walk 3, but it seemed like as he got into the game, he got a little bit better. Certainly showed a good fastball.
I think at this point in the season, you made the point that the pitchers are really trying to find their release points, find their mechanical aspects of their pitching motions. And I think with Irabu, as he went along, he started to be a little more fluid, get the ball over the plate, first pitch strikes, which are always important.
I like the way that Scott Brocious, Darryl Strawberry swung the bat, but I think there's some more news coming out of the Yankee clubhouse, and for that right now we're going to go down to field level and Michael Kay. Michael, what have you got?
Well, thanks, Jim. There is some news. One of the things that they wanted to do this spring was have Irabu have a little bit of a better relationship with the media, and he's been great with the American media, but he's still really at odds with the Japanese press. They cover his every single move. He doesn't appreciate that. He spoke with the American media. He said that he felt good today. He could have a better fastball than he did. Then he walked out into the outer part of the clubhouse, and the Japanese media was there. He gave them short answers. Then he went back in. He came back out, and he was talking to them off the record. And there was an ENG camera, and this is an ENG for those that might not know. And there was a gentleman that was filming the whole interview, and Irabu said, "Really, I don't understand why you're doing that. Shut the camera off." And the guy said, "No, you're talking to these people." And Irabu said, "Well, it's off the record." He said, "No, I'm not shutting the camera off." At that point, Irabu grabbed the camera and started shaking it. The cameraman was starting to get a little bit nervous, so he popped out the tape because Irabu wanted the tape. This is an ENG tape, a beta tape, if you will. And what Irabu did was he grabbed the tape, slammed it to the ground, and jumped up and down on it, and he stormed away. So that's going to be a big story in the papers tomorrow, somewhat overshadowing the fact that he had his best outing so far this spring, but afterward, that was not a good outing for Irabu.
Well, it all kind of works to the advantage of the Yankee team, because and Bobby Knight on the basketball side does such a good job of this. He creates so much attention that it's taken off of his team, and even though the Yankees don't like to see things like that happen to Irabu, it takes some of the attention off the other players, and they can just go about their business.
Yeah, but we know the fact that Irabu had a problem with his temper last year, and certainly the Yankees have tried to tone him down,
right.
And because this could affect the way he pitches, not only in the clubhouse during the game, but on the mound this could happen as well.
Well, that'll be the big story tomorrow, even though it was a 5-5 tie in 11 innings. That's our final score here from Tampa, Florida, 5-5 in 11 innings. Our next game 2 weeks from today will be the Kansas City Royals, a 1 o'clock start right here at Legends Field, and then again on Sunday a 1 o'clock start against the Texas Rangers. Our home opener is going to be against the Oakland Athletics on April 10th, but the road opener, the official opener, Yankees and the Anaheim Angels, Wednesday, April 1st, a 10:30 East Coast start. Well, for our entire crew, for Ken Singleton, Michael Kay, Leon Schweier, Bill Webb, Eddie Caginelli down in the truck, this is Jim Cott saying so long from Tampa, Florida. The Tigers and the Yankees tied at 5.